Okay, good evening. I call this board meeting to order. It is April 16th, 2026. Please stand for the pledge, and Trustee Gersich will lead. Okay, good evening, everyone. First thing to order, we are going to do introductions, and we're going to start with Namarta Graywall. If you could go ahead and start with introductions.
Good evening, Namarta Graywall, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Ahmed Shikal Islami, Business Services.
Good evening, Ed Dialazzo, Deputy Superintendent, Ed Services.
Good evening, Elizabeth Gersich, Student Board Trustee.
Justin Brown, Trustee Area 5.
Mary Jo Carrion, Trustee Area 4. Sorry, 1.
Charlie Jones, Trustee for Area 4.
Lori Walker, serving as Vice President this year.
Good evening, Trustee Kelly McCoshie, serving as President this year.
Welcome, good evening to the people in the audience and the people online. Thank you for attending. Maurice Geisel, Superintendent.
And Lenita Villasenor, Executive Assistant to Dr. Geisels and the Board of Trustees.
Okay, next in order, we're going to do a report out of closed session items. And the first item that we're going to do a report on is closed session item 2A1A. The board voted 5-0 with the motion made by Trustee Jones and seconded by Trustee Walker to approve a compromise and release agreement for internal case number SED 113-2526 for the amount not to exceed $39,390. Okay. Next, in order, we have personnel matters, and we have several appointments. So if the person is in the audience, then we'll have you come up once we announce that position. So first, we have Public Employee Appointment, Director of Student Services. This is for Amy Wallace, and it was firsted. Come on up. It was passed unanimously. Motion made by Trustee Carrion and seconded by Trustee Walker. So welcome. If you'd like to make a few words or make a statement, you're free to do so.
Thank you so much, Board of Trustees. I am truly grateful for this opportunity to take on the role of Director of Student Services next school year. As current coordinator, it's truly an honor to serve with the amazing staff in Pleasanton, as well as serving our students and families of this great community, and I really, truly look forward to enriching the mission and vision of our organization and working with you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're so excited. Very excited to have you join our team. Okay, so next we have is in closed session, the board voted unanimously to approve an appointment for the Director of Special Education. The motion was made by Carrion, seconded by Jones. The motion passed unanimously, and we're calling for Catherine Nolda. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Geisels, district staff, and Pleasanton Unified Community. As mentioned, my name is Kate Nolda, and it's a profound honor to join the district as the new Director of Special Education. My approach to this role is built on a simple but firm conviction. Our students in special education are first and foremost general education students who should be meaningfully included to the greatest extent possible across all educational settings. I look forward to collaborating with our staff, with our families, and our community in support of our students with special needs. I am grateful for the opportunity, and I am eager to continue the incredible efforts of the current team. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay, next we have an appointment for the Vice Principal at Amador Valley High School. The board, in closed session, the board voted unanimously to approve for this appointment for Vice Principal of Amador Valley High School, Motion made by Jones, seconded by Carrion. And so we would like to welcome Allison Noble.
Good evening, Board President McCaughey, trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Geisels. I'm Allison Noble, and I'm honored to accept the position of High School Vice Principal at Amador Valley High School. I'm excited about this opportunity and grateful for the trust you placed in me. I look forward to joining Pleasanton Unified, a district with a strong reputation for academic excellence and community. I'm eager to meet and collaborate with students, staff, and families. I'm especially proud to support Amador Valley's mission of nurturing responsible global citizens and fostering a culture of integrity, inclusion, and lifelong learning. I'm committed to helping create a positive, supportive environment where all students can grow. Thank you for this opportunity.
Okay. We also have another appointment, Vice Principal for Amador Valley High School. In closed session, the board voted unanimously to approve the appointment for the Vice Principal. Motion made by Carrion, seconded by Brown, passed unanimously, and we would like to recommend, congratulate Maria Yakub to come on up. Welcome.
Good evening, President Mokashi, trustees, Superintendent Dr. Geisels, and members of the Pleasanton community. My name is Maria Yakub, and I'm truly honored to accept the opportunity to serve as Vice Principal at Amador Valley High School for the upcoming school year. Thank you to the board, district leadership, and everyone involved in the interview process for your trust and confidence. I come to this role with years of experience serving students in both traditional and alternative education settings. Those experiences have strengthened my belief in the power of relationships, high expectations, and creating environments where every student feels a sense of belonging and possibility. Amador Valley is a school with a strong tradition of academic excellence, community pride, and a commitment to supporting the whole student. I'm excited to partner with Amador staff, families, and students to help ensure everyone feels seen, supported, and challenged to reach their highest potential. Thank you again for the incredible opportunity. I'm eager to get to work and look forward to contributing to the continued success of Amador Valley and Pleasanton Unified School District. Thank you.
Okay, so we have another appointment, Vice Principal for Foothill High School. In closed session, the board voted unanimously to approve this position. Motion made by Jones and seconded by Carrion, passed unanimously. We'd like to welcome Paul Ferris, if he's here. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Geisel and the board, for this opportunity to continue my career in Pleasanton Unified. I've enjoyed the last 4 years. I am be able to build off my previous experience of being a vice principal in another district to continue to support not only Foothill but the Pleasanton community. So thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, we have one more appointment for Vice Principal at Livingston Elementary School. In closed session, the board voted unanimously to approve this particular appointment. The motion was made by Walker, seconded by Carrion, passed unanimously. We'd like to welcome Miss Lyons up, if she's here, to accept this recognition and appointment.
Hey team PUSD, I'm back. I'm super excited to be back at Livingston next year. I have lots of fun dreams and hopes and goals for next year. I know we're gonna have another fabulous year, and thank you so much for having trust and faith in me, and I can't wait for our new year to begin, even though we're not even done yet.
All right. Great, thank you. Those are all our appointments, and a special thank you to our Human Resources Department and all the professionals who helped with the hiring process. We're super excited. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we just want to point out there's a section called the Board Q&A and Meeting Follow-Up. This is offered with every agendized meeting, and if a particular trustees or...
Point of order, we have to approve the agenda.
how did I miss that? Okay, well, let me finish my sentence, and then we'll go back to approving the agenda. We'll adjust the agenda as is. So the board Q&A are items for trustees if they have particular questions. This is something that is standard for every board meeting. It is available online, and if there are particular questions, we are able to ask staff and provide answers. So with that, we are looking for an approval for the agenda, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, and all those in favor, preferential vote?
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes 5-0 with our preferential vote as well. So going on to the next part of the agenda, our recognitions for our schools and department spotlights. First up for 10 minutes, Amador Valley High School. So welcome, come on up.
Oh, this, okay, thank you. And this is the forward back? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Oh, this is short. Good evening, Board President Makashi, trustees, Superintendent Dr. Geisels, cabinet, staff, extended cabinet, families, and community members. Thank you for the opportunity to spotlight Amador Valley High School tonight. So happy. Tonight, will share how AVHS is working to continue to build on the foundation of a school grounded in excellence, belonging, opportunity, and culturally responsive leadership. As you can see, we're proud of our strong outcomes in ELA, mathematics, college and career readiness, and graduation. At the same time, we know that success must also include belonging, relationships, and access. Our focus on explicit instruction and the I do, we do, you do model helps ensure that students experience both high expectations and high support. I'm going to ask Mr. Jaramillo to come up and take the next minute or so to highlight some of our excellence in our special education program.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Jaramillo. I'm also one of the vice principals at Amador, and thank you all for being here this evening. Tonight, I'd just like to highlight a few, and I oversee our special education department. Tonight, I'd like to highlight some of our achievements. To start off, our Counseling Enrich program, which consists of a new staff this year with a new CEC teacher and 2 new clinicians. They have been doing magnificent work. They've increased our student attendance. They've really built this positive, safe learning environment for all students and made them feel comfortable while providing those social emotional needs. I'd also like to highlight our workability seasoned staff members. For those of you who do not know what workability is, they help assist our students with IEPs to find jobs. They help them throughout the whole application process, the interview process, even sometimes with transportation and providing uniforms if needed. It's been great to see, real quick, a lot of our alumni who come back and thank our workability staff because some of these students still hold those jobs that they've originally held or obtained in high school, so that's great to see. Another great program we started this year is our Best Buddies program, which is a nonprofit global organization, basically connecting our general ed students with our special ed students and helping those special ed students with severe needs feel connected with our school. That we have been having weekly meetings, and it's just great to see these students interacting with our Mr. Amador candidates, our student athletes, our band members. It's just wonderful, wonderful program to see. I'd like to bring in Mr. Rahman, I believe, or I'm sorry, Mr. Norrington.
Oh, and I'm sorry, in all my excitement, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Malcolm Norrington, the proud principal of Amador Valley High School. So, yes, that's me. I am he. I'm going to talk about our ELL program. Our ELL program is creating meaningful college and community pathways through our partnership with Las Positas College and the Puente program. We're increasing participation and supporting access to four-year universities for our Latinx students. For us, this is about treating language and culture as assets and not deficits. This next slide highlights the importance of identity affirmation. So through Latino Club, diversity, and community building events, students are not only participating, they are being seen, honored, and celebrated. We're intentional about making room for students to bring their full selves into the learning environment. Next up is Mr. Rahman to talk about our AP program.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Akil Rahman. I have the privilege of being one of the AP coordinator for Amador Valley High School for this year and last year. I want to highlight some data that shows the incredible achievement our students have accomplished the last 5 years, along with a shout out to all the teachers who teach these AP classes. If you look at the year-over-year table up there for 5 years, we've seen an increase overall in the number of AP students with scores of 3+, along with the total number of exams registered increasing. Last year, we hit a 97.29% 3+ passing rate. This year, we do expect that percentage to increase because this year we have 1,423 student enrollments for 2026 AP exams, and we have 3,803 exam registrations, higher than any year in the past 5 years that we've had. I do want to give a shout out to our African American students who have taken AP exams. This last year, we had 13 total exams taken by African American students with an average score of 4.62, and they scored 4 or higher in all those subjects listed at the bottom. Again, a huge shout out to the students and also the teachers who teach our students. And the second group I want to give a highlight to is our Latinx students. 104 total exams taken by our Latinx students with an average score of 3.72 and scored 3 or higher on the following subjects. And the last one we'll talk about is our AP Scholars Program. Although we see a decrease in the number of AP Scholars, we've seen a substantial increase in the number of AP Scholars with honors and the number of AP Scholars with distinction, with 425 for the year 2025. Board members, executive cabinet, if you see there's a link there, so you can check that out when you get the chance to see what the criteria for each of the 3 categories are. That's it. I'm going to pass it back over to our principal, Malcolm Norrington, to go over the counseling highlights. Oops.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman. So our counselors our counseling team is central to our work, our equity work, all of our work. They support students through a whole child lens by addressing academic, social, emotional, and post-secondary needs. Our counselors ensure that students have adults who help them feel known, supported, and connected to opportunity and AVHS. So just by the numbers, these numbers reflect the depth of their work. Counseling visits, letters of recommendation, risk assessments, cost referrals, SART process, and 504 supports. This is what equity looks like in practice, right? Building systems that respond to what students actually need rather than assuming that one path works for every student. This is what PUSD does. This is what AVHS does. We are reflective and proactive, not just reactive. Study skills presentations the counselors do. They do scheduling support, suicide prevention lessons, junior status meetings, and they all help students and families stay informed and supported. We're emphasizing prevention, communication, and access. Next up, I want to invite the stars of this evening for us. 4 of our students, they're absolutely amazing. They're all seniors. Brooke Minna, our ASB president, Karina Badger, our treasurer, Milana Shriver, and Diego Laredo. They're going to come and talk to you all about a few things that they love about AVHS and PUSD.
Join me. Hello, my name is Brooke Mena. I'm the ASB president at Amador Valley High School. I'm also a part of Mr. Amador and the captain of a historic boys basketball team that made it to the semifinals for the first time in a very long time. So Mr. Norrington asked us to kind of talk about what Amador Valley means to me. And when he first asked me this question, the first words that came to mind were support and community. When I first transferred to Amador Valley last year, I was going through some pretty severe family struggles, and though I did know a few people from the school through basketball, naturally I felt alone in the first month of school, but luckily I was soon shown that I didn't have to feel that way. Being a part of leadership allowed me to make connections with some amazing people, many of which do not know the impact that they had on my life, but I'm forever grateful for their friendship, and I would not be where I am today without them. And something that I think is even more unique to Amador is the support that I found in the staff and teachers. I came from a relatively larger school with almost 4,000 students, and it could just be that there are less students per staff members at Amador. But I truly believe that the reason that I truly believe that at Amador, all staff truly make an effort to ensure the well-being of all students on campus. I want to give a special shout out to my counselors and to my teachers. Once again, I would never be where I am today without them. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful. Ms. Torres is my counselor over here, sitting right over here. And then I also want to give a special shout out to my English teacher, Mr. Thayer from last year, and Ms. Woganmuth, who's no longer in the district, but both of them played a huge part of my success, so I just want to thank them.
Hello, everybody. My name is Milana Schreiber, and I'm also a senior at Amador, and I am one of the captains of the varsity flag football team, and I'm an ROP student. This year, I organized a voter registration booth, led a student demonstration, and I'm currently working on passing a resolution in the Pleasanton City Council for climate regulations. Amador means a lot to me because it's a place where everyone can explore new passions or develop their former ones and just really be whoever they want to be and share their voice and be heard. And it's just really special that we have a community like that. And I'm really grateful for all of the student staff and especially the teachers at Amador.
Hi, my name's Karina Badger, and I'm also a senior at Amador. When I think of Amador, I think of all the opportunities that I've been given. Walking into Amador freshman year, I never would have expected being a part of all of my now favorite activities. I've found a home in Amador's diving program. It's an athletic passion of mine. I started a club for Latino students with Diego, where we encourage students to explore STEM topics, hear from guest lectures, and attend conferences around us, notably at UC Davis. I've also found a home as the school's ASB treasurer in the leadership class, and I manage all of the club, class, and athletic funds at Amador. And also in Amador's leadership class, I've planned events like last year's prom and this year's Lip Dub for hundreds of students in school, hoping to build that kind of community. In my other classes, I've engaged my academic side in multivariable calculus and in AP physics this year. For me, Amador is all of these exciting opportunities and the extraordinary ways in which Amador's academically challenging, collaborative, fun, engaged community takes advantage of these opportunities. Thank you.
Last but not least, right? My name is Diego Laredo. I'm a senior at Amador Valley. I'm the president of Latinos in STEM Club, the Spanish Honor Society. I'm also a varsity cross-country and track and field athlete. This past fall, our cross-country team made it to state in the first time in 3 years. So that's a big accomplishment. And I've helped spearhead the Latinos in STEM program. As you've seen, we've been here a few times before, and we're trying to engage our Latino students so they can participate more in STEM industries as well as classes on campus. I also, thanks to the amazing computer science CT pathway that is at Amador, I've been able to learn new skills that prepare me for the next chapter of my life and beyond. And I'm really proud to be a Don. It's really a place where students' voices matter, and they have the opportunities to succeed in whatever they want. And I think that's an amazing thing. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dwight Pratt. I'm the coordinator of operations. I'm going to highlight some of our band programs and our extracurriculars, as well as our clubs. I will be extremely quick and brief, but I do want to really point out, like, this is why we do. This is what gives us the passion. This is what motivates us to go to work every single day, is to put the best forward for kids like these and all the kids in PUSD. So our amazing Winter Guard program, 5 straight conference championships. The band program is what really is what makes PUSD and makes Amador. It's a huge program, and they're going to nationals next. And Mr. Grantham, one of our lead band directors, has been there 25 years, so we're very proud of him for that. Next up is our Amador Athletics. You can see that, just a snippet here, but 17 teams have above a 3.0 GPA. We have over 1,000 students in our athletic programs. The average program GPA is 3.59. The state goal this year was to add 10 female athletes per year for the next 3 years to be equitable with our male sports teams. We've added girls flag football thanks to Phil Peacock and Travis Chubb, who started that 3 years ago. Freshman girls basketball program, girls beach volleyball program, And cheer, freshman girls, has all been brought back over the last couple years. So that is what has helped us achieve that goal very easily. Here are some of the highlights: 27 all-league athletes, 10 plus NCS scholar teams, strong academic performance, program growth and participation across all our sports programs, multiple postseason teams. So we're very proud of all of them. And again, what Brooke said earlier, special team recognition to our boys basketball for their CIF state run and our cross-country state qualifying team. So very proud of all the sports that we've had. Quick highlight on our clubs. We have 96 active clubs at Amador Valley High School. They're very highly student engaged across PUSD, and they lead meetings, go attend CASBO, follow the CASBO rules, all overseen by Miss Wendy Conley, who also is our beach volleyball coach and yearbook and journalism and everything else, but you'll hear more about her later. And lastly, highlight one of our clubs, our biggest accomplishment here of one of our clubs is Bree Barnett Dreyfus, who leads that. They have the Step Up Club, which is female-driven focus, and they have the opportunity to send one of their projects to space in the upcoming years. So that got national recognition, and very proud of them for all the work they've done in that. Next up, I'm going to introduce our PTA president, Mercedes Badger.
Good evening. My name is Mercedes Badger. I'm this year's PTSA president, but I'm also Karina Badger's mom tonight. I just want to very briefly brag about AVHS's PTSA activities. If you don't know, the PTSA gets our funds at the beginning of year through very generous donations of our parents. We get it in 3 ways: membership dues, member donations, and corporate matching donations. We take those three ways of getting money and send them into 3 buckets. We make donations, flat donations to the library, the wellness center, and the health office. We run programs like peer tutoring. We offer club grants, teacher grants. We run a reflections program. We run spiritware. We run scholarships. We do voter registration. And then we also provide assistance like competition support, prom and ball scholarships, and senior yearbooks. I would like to say briefly that we don't run other fundraisers. There are so many fundraisers going on for the classes, for the clubs, for the sports teams, that we get so much of our donations at registration and work with that for the year. And then I just wanted you guys to see some of our activities in photos this year. So that's our peer tutoring program that is run every day, Monday through Thursday, for an hour after school. That's us at Pigskin. We gave away $40,000 in grants this year. We ran the Reflections program. We are giving away scholarships soon. And that is Matthew at voter registration. Before I finish, I would really like to take this opportunity to thank the 25-26 AVHS PTSA board members for volunteering their time to oversee these roles in our activities. They are essential and very much appreciated. They are Rosabelle Basmajeen, Janet Shen, Trina Willardson, Nishta Patel, Vivian Shum, Melissa Toe, Kelly Cantu, Mr. Norrington sits on our board, Eric Shear, Sally Richards, Sabina Kashal, Matthew Ansari, Marcy Donnelly, Amira Elgamel, Vali Gangadarian, Daida Strasser, Shruti Burley, and Sonia Nassar.
Thank you. We're going to get to our recognitions. Thank you for allowing us to go over time. We are wrapping up quickly. So we have 3, 1 student and 2 staff members we're honoring that aren't here, so we'll be quick. Kara Shannon is not here. She's traveling with We the People. And Kara says we're proud to recognize her for responsibility and self-discipline. Her ability to balance academics and multiple student commitments reflect the kind of focus, organization, and character that strengthens our school community. We also want to recognize Juan Carlos Garcia Pimentel. He is our buildings and grounds worker. He keeps our landscaping and our grounds looking amazing. We're proud to recognize Juan Carlos for his dedication and pride in maintaining a welcoming campus. His work contributes directly to the climate of our school. A culturally responsive environment is not only instructional, it is also physical, relational, and deeply tied to care. And then lastly, Ms. Wendy Connolly. She is coaching our beach volleyball team at this time. So she's not here, but we recognize Ms. Connolly for responsibility and honesty. Through her leadership of student-centered programs like leadership, journalism, and yearbook, she helps sustain student voice, tradition, and engagement on our campus. So those three aren't here. The first student I'd like to recognize is a freshman, Siva Thunder. So Siva, we recognize Siva for, yes, compassion. He uses 3D printing and CAD skills to create more than 50 neural focus kits for fellow students. This is a strong example of students using gifts to support belonging and inclusion, coherence at its best.
Okay, our next certificate of recognition is presented to Karina Badger. For exhibiting the characteristics of self-discipline and respect, Karina has a current weighted GPA of a 4.17. Karina is the ASB treasurer, where she oversees the financial operations of our student body and student clubs, managing assets totaling more than $150,000. Also, she is the Latinos in STEM co-vice president and an athlete on the AVHS varsity dive team. To increase and ensure continued student voice of our Latino, Hispanic students is represented, honored, and listened to. Karina and her peers conducted an assembly for our Latins, Hispanic students. The purpose was to encourage them to join the Latino and the Latinos in STEM clubs, join leadership, and enroll in AP and elective STEM courses. Lastly, Karina worked extensively on improving a sense of belonging by co-producing the 2026 Lip Dub. Congratulations, Karina.
I would like to give a certificate of recognition to Diego Loreto. Diego, for exhibiting the characteristics of integrity and responsibility. Diego is a senior in the ASB. He currently has a 4.17 weighted GPA. Diego is the president of the Latinos in STEM Club. To increase and ensure continued student voice of our Latino/Hispanic students is represented, honored, and listened to. Diego and his peers held an assembly for our Latino Hispanic students. The purpose was to encourage them to join the Latino in STEMs Club, join leadership, and enroll in AP and elective STEM courses. Needless to say, it was a success.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Brooke Minna, certificate of recognition presented to Brooke Minna for exhibiting the characteristics of compassion and responsibility. Brooke is the ASB president. In this work, Brooke and his peers develop essential skills in leadership, teamwork, and fiscal stewardship through community projects, philanthropic initiatives, and spirit-building programs that touch every corner of our campus. He maintains a 3.60 weighted GPA and is a standout basketball player. Lastly, Brooke is kind, fun, respectful, intellectually curious, hardworking, deeply dependable, and uncommonly compassionate as a leader. Next up is Milana Schreiber. Certificate of recognition presented to Milana Schreiber for exhibiting the characteristics of respect and responsibility. Milana is a senior and currently has a 4.31 weighted GPA. Oh my goodness. On February 4th, 2026, over 1,000 students and community members participated in an organized and controlled event where they were able to make their voices heard and engage in their civic duty. Leading up to the event, Milana worked with me and city partners, district-level personnel, and her peers across the Bay Area. Milana is a staunch advocate for social justice, and she is always respectful. She sees the big picture, which is a great habit of a systems thinker. Lastly, she is an excellent communicator, patient, kind, intelligent, and already has the makings of servant leadership. Thank you, Milana.
Next up is Jesse Carzaldes for exhibiting the characteristics of leadership and responsibility. Jesse plays a critical role in the daily operations of our campus demonstrates strong organization leadership and communication to ensure both day and night custodial teams are aligned and that the campus remains clean, safe, and ready each day. He consistently goes above and beyond, showing flexibility, dependability, and a strong work ethic while effectively managing the evolving needs of a busy high school environment. Thank you, Jesse.
Next up, certificate of recognition for Julie Bowe. For exhibiting compassion and respect, Julie consistently demonstrates a deep commitment to student-centered teaching, ensuring that every student feels seen, valued, and supported in their learning. She fosters strong, positive relationships with students while maintaining high expectations, creating an inclusive and engaging classroom environment. In addition, she is a collaborative and dependable colleague who actively contributes to team efforts, shares best practices, and supports others with a willingness to step in wherever needed. Her dedication to going above and beyond for both students and staff reflects a genuine care for the entire school community and sets a strong example for others.
And last but definitely not least is Ms. Cheryl Pacheco. Ms. Pacheco is awarded the certificate of recognition, for exhibiting the characteristics of integrity and responsibility. Cheryl Pacheco exemplifies the highest standards of integrity and responsibility. Cheryl has served as the head counselor at Amador Valley High School for the past 4 years and has dedicated 26 of her 29 years as a school counselor to the AVHS community. She leads with both integrity and compassion, consistently centering the whole child and approaching her work with thoughtfulness and care. Cheryl is a deeply collaborative and highly communicative leader whose steady guidance strengthens our counseling program and supports students, families, and staff alike. We are sincerely grateful for Cheryl's leadership and enduring commitment to the Don community. That's the last one. Yep. Oh! That is awesome. So they're going to take a picture, but I'm going to close it out before they take the picture, and just thank you for providing us the opportunity to share this story of Amador Valley High School. Thank you to my staff and the families and the trustees and the superintendent and cabinet and our students, most importantly. What a great day to be a Don. Go Dons!
All right, parents, friends, please move around, take pictures as you wish, and we will have a final official picture. Let's make sure Mr. Norrington's in there because I know he likes pictures. All right, everybody, please feel free, move around, take pictures. Lanita will take the official picture. All right, Miss Gates is taking the official. Look at her. She's right in the middle there. All right, I see grandparents and people. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, there's one more. I know it's hard to smile for so long. Thank you, guys. Go Dons!
We're just going to wait a minute or two for those who are exiting out, and we'll continue with the meeting. For those who are staying, feel free to move up. We're going to continue the meeting in just one moment, waiting for anyone else who might need to exit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue with, we do have a couple additional recognitions, and so the next recognition is Teacher of the Year 2026-2027 for Greg Dankwart and nominees. So who is the, who's presenting? Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Thank you, President McCaughey. It is my great honor to present to you this evening both of our Employees of the Year for the certificated and classified employees. And we have some other nominees also that were recognized by their peers. And then there's selected winners, as we call them. So Mr. Dialazzo is actually going to do the honors because both employees of the year are in his division in educational services. So we'll have him do that.
So let me just clarify on the agenda. We're going to do agenda B and C together. So the other recognition is Classified School Employee of the Year 2026-27, Yogita Kedkar, and the finalists.
All right. Thank you, President McCaughey, Dr. Geisels, and trustees.
Are you wanting us to come up?
All right.
Okay.
There are hand signals going on. I
We'll
wanted to
come up.
pause. It is my honor to recognize two of our excellent employees this year, and I'll start with our Classified Employee of the Year, Yogita Kedkar. Yogita, I will read this, and then you can go up and shake hands, please. Yogita Gedkar is a data administrator in the Educational Services Division. Her exceptional technical expertise, collaborative spirit, and unwavering commitment to service have made a meaningful impact across Pleasanton Unified. In recognition of her outstanding contributions, Yogita was also selected as an Alameda County Classified School Employee of the Year in the Technical Services category. Yeah. In her role managing the complex systems that support student information, reporting, and district operations, she consistently develops thoughtful solutions that improve accuracy, increase efficiency, and strengthen informed decision-making. Yogita is widely respected for her responsiveness, definitely, proactive planning, and ability to translate complex technical processes into clear, practical tools for schools and departments. Her leadership in initiatives that support enrollment processes and enhance reporting has improved the overall experience for school and district staff, as well as for students and families our systems ultimately serve. Through her professionalism, reliability, and positive approach, Yogita exemplifies the vital contributions of our classified employees and helps ensure that our systems effectively support student success. Yogita. All right, next, it is my honor to recognize the Certificated Employee of the Year, Mr. Greg Dankwart. So Greg is a teacher at Harvest Park Middle School, and I was just asking Namarta earlier, what does he teach? And she goes, I think everything. So he literally does. So Greg Dankwart is widely respected for his dedication to students, innovative instructional practices, and strong leadership within Harvest Park Middle School. Whether providing targeted academic support, facilitating hands-on learning experiences, or mentoring student leaders, Greg creates engaging environments where students feel supported, challenged, and encouraged to grow. His classroom reflects a culture of creativity, collaboration, and high expectations that help students build both confidence and essential academic skills. He's also known among colleagues for his willingness to share strategies, support school-wide initiatives, and advocate for approaches that help all students experience success. Beyond the classroom, Greg's leadership in student activities, campus programs, and inclusive athletic opportunities has strengthened school culture and expanded meaningful participation for a wide range of learners. Through his commitment, advocacy, and collaborative approach, Greg exemplifies the impact of outstanding teaching and contributes significantly to a positive and supportive school environment. Greg, thank you.
So one more round for both of our employees of the year. And as we move into photo mode, we also would like to invite their union presidents to join in the photo, please, to be part of it with them. So Evan and Ryan, if you could come up, and Yogita and Greg, you need to be center stage, please. Very good. Evan, slide in. There we go. Thank you. Congrats.
She's not a morning person.
Okay, well, we had quite a few recognitions today. So next on the agenda, we have reports from Employee Association presidents. We will start out with the Association of Pleasanton Teachers, APT, Evan Branning. Come on up.
You can clap if you want to, it's fine. Good evening, my name is Evan Branning, and I am your APT president. I stand in front of you because APT continues to believe that Pleasanton students deserve the best. We spend all of our energy and all of our actions making sure to fight for our students and fight for policies, fight for programs, and fight for the education that they deserve. And right now, it feels like we are fighting alone. I will say that a few weeks ago, I felt like we were in this together. At this point, it does not feel that way. The board continues to move forward on cuts that are incredibly harmful to our students. They're going to reduce the number of minutes that elementary students have each day, increase the workload on the educators who are serving them, cut some of our specialized educators who are some of the most valuable and important programs that these students have, damage their mental health, leave them with no one to talk to, overburden the mental health providers that are left behind, and leaving them with inadequate time to talk to our students, give them the support they need to be able to come to school every day and simply learn. It is impossible to have an education if you are worried about your home life, if you are worried about how you will make it through. Our most vulnerable students are the ones who are going to be most dramatically affected by the cuts that you continue to push forward. We have been trying to work with this board. We've been trying to move forward in negotiations, and at this point, it does not feel like we are working together. Everything that APT does is about making sure that our students have the programs and supports that they need. Everything is about making sure that we have the best educators, that we have educators who are able to focus on our students, who are able to provide the education that they will only get one chance at having. I continue to be hopeful, but it is challenging right now to be hopeful that we can get to a point where we are able to return the programs that our students most desperately need, that our students are able to get the education they need, and our educators are able to get the supports that they need to provide those programs. But it feels like we're fighting alone right now.
Okay, next on the agenda is the California School Employees Association president. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, board members and cabinet. My name is Ryan Kelly, and I am the CSEA president. I want to offer my congratulations to Yogita Kadkar as the CSEA Employee of the Year. Well done, Yogita. Now, I want to take a moment to recognize the collaboration between Human Resources and the CSEA negotiations team. In times like these, it's easy to focus on differences, but what truly matters is our shared commitment to finding solutions that support classified employees, students, and the long-term stability of the district. Through ongoing dialogue and the willingness to listen, we've been able to come to the table with ideas that reflect not just fiscal responsibility, but also respect for the people who keep our schools running every day. This kind of collaboration doesn't happen by accident. It takes effort, trust, and shared understanding that we all work towards the same goal, serving our students and community while supporting the dedicated staff behind the scenes. While there is still work ahead, this partnership shows that what is possible when we move forward together, not as opposing sides, but as a team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan Keller. Okay, so next on the agenda is public comment. These are for comments for anything that is not on the current agenda. And just a reminder, it's 3 minutes per individual, and after the 3 minutes, we'll thank you. But we do ask you to honor that amount of time. So thank you.
Hi, I promise I'll be quick. I'm here on behalf of a lot of very concerned parents. I know that there are many troubling aspects of these budget cuts, but there's one in particular that's a source of great anxiety in the community. School hours aren't just a schedule. They're the backbone of student success and family stability. When hours are clear and consistent, students learn better and families can plan their lives with confidence. Parents need to know when their kids are going to be in school. It's about safety, supervision, and peace of mind. Start times matter. When school starts later, the burden often falls the hardest on working families, especially those with fixed or early shifts. Not everyone has flexible hours or easy access to childcare. A small change in the school day can create big challenges at home. Reliable, predictable school hours support not just students, but entire families. And when we set those hours, we need to make sure that they work for everyone and not just a few. There are still some parents in the district that are shocked to be hearing that the school timetable might be changing. This is absolutely unacceptable. This information should be posted in all affected schools, in all communications, and it should be in prime position on your website. This is vital information that families need to know now. Much like you cannot put into place a kids club overnight for every student in the district, families need and deserve time to make adequate and safe arrangements for their families. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Juanita, are there any other comments? Okay, so, all right, next on the agenda is a message from the board. This is a new item on the agenda, which typically rotates with each trustee with a message, and this week it is coming from our fellow trustee, Brown.
Hi, good evening. Tonight I wanted to make my message from the board a little bit more personable. I had the opportunity just before spring break to travel with the PMS Music Boosters down for their annual trip down to Disneyland. They had, and I spent 3 days traveling with the team and the staff, and it was fascinating to see the amount of organization that goes into this, both from a teacher and staffing perspective, but also from the organization. And I commend all of the fellow chaperones, but what occurred to me is like, this is 3 days for me in isolation, right? And the thing that I found most interesting was, first of all, being proud to sort of see the kids perform in a public forum. That was their first opportunity to perform professionally. But what amazed me is we've got teachers like Mr. A, Caroline Sluice, and others that do this every year, right? Like I said, this is 3 days that I did this, but to see the constant contributions of the staff that do this every year for our kids, and to see the genuine, in the snippets of conversation, the genuine interest and preservation of that uniting experience for our students is something I wanted to call out. As a board member, I sit with 3 teachers, former administration staff. I'm the only one that hasn't been an employee of the district. And so obviously I lean on my experience as a parent, and I lean on my experience from the business side, but it's interesting to be in the middle of this and seeing the giving, the caring, and the genuine interest that staff have for our students. And one of the things that I found is a key learning on my time on the board, which is about 3.5 years now, is the need to provide a holistic experience. Like we had the presentation tonight from the Amador Valley High School, and the sheer number of the clubs that they talked about, right? Think of each one of those clubs requires a sponsor within staff, right? And all of those things, and you heard the impact from the students themselves. They're highlighting the staff that have made their time memorable and the experiences that have made their time memorable. And so I just wanted to use this opportunity to reinforce that we as board members recognize the fact that we are not just delivering academic programs, we're delivering music programs, sports programs, and then all the supports that go around that. We heard about the counseling, we hear about the scheduling, all the supports that happen around that also affects the student experience. And so I just wanted to take a minute and just kind of reflect on all of the time and effort and the genuine nature, be it whether you're a board member or whether you're a member of the classified or certificated staff. Everyone is here to try to give our kids in the community the best possible experience within our schools as we can, and to give them the best start in life. And it really has an impact. It's one of the things that I consider myself fortunate to sit up here every couple of weeks and hear the impact from our staff and from our students on the lives that we make. And I just wanted to reemphasize why we're here at these board meetings. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Brown, and talking from the heart and very heartfelt, so thank you. So next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. So I'm going to pass it to Dr. Geisels.
Thank you, President McCaughey. I'm really excited about the new leaders to Pleasanton Unified School District. Super excited. Congratulations. I want everyone to know, too, that our selection process is very rigorous. We had a very strong talent pool this year. And hiring just doesn't end when the board appoints an administrator. We do a lot of assessment and growth to make sure you learn about our culture, you feel welcome, because that's a big thing about belonging, and to do everything we can, whether you're currently in PUSD or new, to grow, develop, and support you. So we're very deliberate about that, and I thank Cabinet and your directs also for that performance development. Employee recognition. This week, Greg Dankwart, and seeing him at Harvest Park with his class intermingle with students with needs and iPals, you know, the 3 to 5, and watching the older kids work with the younger kids and watch his touch, and have Superintendent Elise Castro come from the County of Alameda and all the photo ops. It was just the highlight, tied with Yogita Ketkar, and we honored her today. And you have to know, too, you know, people say about the district office, well, it's a crew. It's like Houston, right? It's like Houston with Artemis. The astronauts need the district office. They need the crew at Houston here in the district office. And I think when I think about Yogita, I heard words like she's patient, she's kind, She, more than anything else, she's curious. I'm going to tell you something. To be curious about your job when 95% of it is dealing with synergy, you got to be a pretty special person. So she was really inspiring. They brought tears to my eyes, and another thing brought tears to my eyes too. Think about the award that went to a student. I love that, who let the dawn out. Think about an award went to a student tonight who organized a peaceful protest. I look at that flag and that gives me chills, right? That speaks to our culture. And that is just really awesome. And then I spent a lot of time with Principal Marco Lopez this week at Pleasanton Middle School, and he has been selected as the Principal of the Year for our charter and is on his way to the region, and I will be attending, many of us will, the gala Thursday night for the award ceremony. I think I told you in the letter, I think I said this maybe in my last report. I did go to CASBO, the California Association of School Business Officers, and made a very strong plea about raising the base. Suzanne is doing so much work with this. It now includes 40-plus districts representing over 300,000 students. And just for the audience, raise the base means that, you know, we're in the lowest decile of funding. So it's because we don't have a lot of supplemental money. So we're trying to get the legislator to recognize, to raise the base. And it's really gaining traction. And thank you, Ryan, for, if she's still here, for signing on. And Evan, we had a good talk today about CTA joining the cause too. Facilities, Educational Options Center. We had the groundbreaking, deliver a modern multi-built campus for Village High School, PVA, and adult transition. And I want to give a shout out to Ed Dialazzo because I know this is near and dear to him. And while I was at the speech at CASBO, what better person that could be with all the history and feelings you have about educational options. So thank you, Ed. Kids Club expansion, celebrated their river cutting of their new Kids Club building at Fairlands. Thank you, Kids Club and Monique. And construction activity, with more Measure I projects moving into construction, activity will increase across the district. An upcoming bus tour on May 5th with the entire board. What we do is we start the board meeting here, we get on the bus, we go around, we look at everything. I think you're going to be astonished with how much progress there's been since the fall. And if everybody behaves, I'll buy you an ice cream cone at Meadowlark afterwards. The Ad Hoc Advisory Committee, led by Superintendent Dialazzo, Josh Butterfield, and David Schrag. We had our second meeting. We continue to work and build shared understanding and identify conditions that support equity and inclusive learning. I particularly want to thank Mary Jo, Trustee Carrion, Trustee Walker for being a part of it. And I need to say this just very clearly. We're facing the brutal facts. We are not refuting or excusing away our results. We're not. And the fact of the matter is the data reflects a significant and unacceptable gap of many of our students, specifically African American students. And it's the central focus of our work, with or without people telling us. It's really important work. And I think the work will continue through this May. Most likely it will always pick up. But thank you, Mr. Dialazzo, Deputy, because it's been a really good start, and the design is just outstanding. Just kind of abbreviate here, big shout out to attendance for Moore, Harvest Park, Valley View, and Hart for their strong improvement. I talked a little bit about Soup on the Move. Went to the faculty meeting, the PTA meeting. We had an unannounced lockdown drill, which went perfectly. And I did a food test. That's important. And I think Pleasanton Middle School is the coolest place on earth. Yesterday they had the Battle of the Bands. The kids were so adorable, and they rocked out. and they competed with Harvest Park, who won last year, and PMS won this year. And boy, was Mr. Campisi upset. No. And then also last night I played with the Foothill Jazz Band at Noni's. They were perfect. And I said this last night and it got a laugh. We had one rehearsal, and this is how good they are. So Fly Me to the Moon, we played it one time. This is Tuesday, the day before. We ran through the whole thing. I was like, drop the mic, that's perfect. And so Eric said, the teacher, he goes, do you want to do it again? I said, yeah, who wants to do it again? And they're all looking at me like, really? Really? I go, never mind. And that's how good they are. Just out of the gate, incredible. And then the middle school band Disney trip, thank you, Trustee Brown, for talking about that. From our middle schools, had the opportunity to participate in Disneyland, included live performance, professional experience. I'm almost done. There's so much going on in this giant civilization called PUSD. We the people, Foothill and Amador Valley High Schools, will compete this weekend in national finals in Washington, D.C. That's incredible. Cyril Bonanno told me last night that he went to go see Amador students last week. He said they were just absolutely phenomenal. Should have been on CNN. And then year-end preparation, been going to open houses, and there's many more things to come, but the most important thing is see you early Sunday for the run, PPIE. This year we're shifting it from the Alameda County Fair to our beautiful Pleasanton Middle School, home of the Panthers, field, track, new, that all other middle schools are getting to. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Geisels. So next is the consent agenda. Before I ask for a motion to approve it, we are pulling B7. So that will be completely removed from the consent agenda. So now I'm going to ask fellow trustees if there's any other items on the consent that would like to be pulled for discussion or conversation. Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda minus item 7.
Second.
Okay, looking for a preferential vote and then roll call vote from trustees.
Aye.
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 And aye. Real quick, the motion does pass, but before we move to the next agenda item, I am asking if there's anyone that would like to speak on public comment for the consent agenda for any item minus B7. Okay, then we're closing that for public comment, and we are moving on to the next part of the agenda, which is the bulk of the meeting for report, discussion, and discussion action. The first item is discussion action, the Memorandum of Understanding, or also known as an MOU, between Pleasanton Unified School District and the California School Employee Association, also known as CSEA, Chapter number 155, regarding impacts and effects of 2026-2027 classified layoffs. And I assume I'm referring to Namardo Graywell.
Yes, thank you, President.
Thank you.
Okay, this item reflects the collaboration between the district and CSEA, our negotiating teams, over many weeks, beginning in late January through mid-February and on into March. It reflects the agreements. There were a list of items as part of the board-directed reductions that we were meant to try to negotiate with CSEA, and this reflects the outcome of those negotiations, the impacts and effects of that work. So our recommendation is that you approve the MOU that was agreed to between the district and CSEA and that was ratified by their membership this Monday.
Okay, so the way we typically set this up is to ask for questions, then do public comment, and then conclude with comments from the trustees before we take a vote. So I'm going to open it to the floor for my fellow trustees if there are any questions. Okay, seeing.
I have one.
Yes, go ahead,
yeah.
Trustee Brown.
I just want to clarify the language in the MOU, sorry, obligates, I think it was item 7, it's the district's goal to avoid making further reductions to CSA. So that clause obligates the district to prioritize the items, the 909K of savings as part of the MOU to cuts that were previously identified for CSEA, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so as typical for all agendized items for this part of the agenda, any public comment for this agenda item from the audience? Okay, seeing none, looking for concluding comments from fellow trustees. Yes, Trustee Karen.
One of the values that I have is working together as a district. And I am just very grateful to CSCA and to management that they came together and they worked together. And especially listening to the comments of the CSCA president, that gives me hope. And so I want to say thank you to everyone involved and thank you to CSCA because I know their sacrifice. I really appreciate the sacrifice that they're making. And I appreciate all of this hard work, and I appreciate our CSCA staff, and I just want to say that I know it's not easy, but I do believe that we're going to work together and we're going to find solutions, and I just want to say appreciation to CSCA.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Carrion. And as board president on behalf of the board, the negotiation process for the MOU is the standard process annually. In general, there are many MOUs that take place, and very much the effort, as echoed by Trustee Carrion, the efforts to collaborate with the labor union party with the district is greatly appreciated. So thank you. Okay, so moving on is discussion, action, budget reductions.
Don't we need to approve that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I
How about that?
apologize. I'm so sorry. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second.
I'll second.
Preferential, and then roll call vote.
Aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Sorry, getting ahead of myself tonight.
The matter of process is the student trustee vote. Is the student trustee meant to vote on a labor agreement MOU? Is that permitted? I mean, it was unanimous, so it really doesn't matter. Just for the record.
I will not be recording her, but.
Okay, thank you.
So for the record, we'll just do, just to clear the air, we'll do a roll call vote except for the preferential vote. So we'll do that one more time. Just roll call.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye, 5-0. Thank you. Okay, discussion action for item B, which is budget reduction review and rescission direction. Who's the speaker?
Yes, I'll begin, President McCaughey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, there's an attachment with this item, but to begin with, as you're all aware and as our community is aware, after many community engagement meetings in the fall, the board had identified approximately $11 million in cuts that would be needed for the 26-27 school year, and of that amount, about $5.4 million required negotiations with our labor partners. And then at the February 19th meeting, you all had identified a rescinding order of reductions to determine the order of rehiring after negotiations were concluded with labor partners. So as you noticed this evening, negotiations with CSA have been completed. Negotiations with APT are ongoing. And in addition, since the time of this list being reviewed by the board last, some other funds have also been identified that might help with savings. So what I'd like to do is begin by explaining what the list looks like now. So this is the updated list for the the reductions that we were planning to make pending negotiations. So the first item on the list reflects the 1.8 FTE of school social worker, which was previously attached to item 18. It has been moved up. It has been disaggregated from item 18. And of the 2.2 total that was in item 18, 1.8 has been moved up because there has been funding that has come through from Alameda County Office of Education, a viability grant, which allows us to cover that portion of our social workers. So that actually, by moving that item up to item 0, it comes off this list in effect because there's other funding and it does not impact the general fund and it brings savings to the district that way. So that's the first item. There are footnotes attached to each of these items at the bottom of the list for anyone who is viewing this from home. The second item that you'll see that's been revised is the district parent liaison reduction that had been proposed was mistakenly listed as a 3-hour reduction, and then there's in item 1, and then there was another item 13, that added another hour of reduction, and so that was not the board's intent, to have a 3-hour plus a 1-hour, 4-hour total reduction. So that item 1 was corrected to reflect a 2-hour reduction separated from the one that's down below in item 13. And then the third change or revision to this list is item now numbered as 5.5, which are the elementary library media assistant 2 FTE reduction. The FTE amount remains the same. However, in our last board meeting when this list was created, there was a miscommunication around which item was meant to be placed after the elementary physical education specialist versus what was meant to be placed with the middle school library media assistant. So in correcting that and going back and viewing footage from that board meeting to ensure that this was correctly placed, we have revised the list and placed that item at 5.5, which we understand is what the board intended for that item in terms of the rescission order. So that is the total list that you're seeing. And at this point, we've also added information to this spreadsheet. There is a column that's titled funding status. It's right next to the savings type column. And in that column, now that funds are coming in from sources, for example, the viability grant from the county, the savings that were achieved through the negotiations with CSEA, they've been identified where there are funding sources that have come through. Certificated items were still in negotiations, so there may be savings that come through the negotiations process. I know that, and Mr. Sheikh Islami and perhaps Mr. Dialazo can speak further, but there are other sources of funding that are being pursued that might help with some other rescissions and savings here that we're not seeing as of today, but once those sources are secured, we might see additional rescissions that can occur. I'll pass it over to them if they want to add.
Sure. We are looking at best utilizing Prop 28 dollars. We are also in discussions with the Education Foundation on how they will apply the dollars and if they're able to expand it. So there are other discussions in place there. We continue to look at grants. I know this week there was some additional grants and programs that are being pursued and seeing how those will positively impact the district. So we continue that. I'm going to pass that on to Mr. Dialazo.
Not too much more to add. However, just reflecting on a couple of things that was said by my colleagues. For example, that viability grant, the last time we went through this exercise with the board, I remember saying that there are some things in the works in terms of grants. This has now come to realization, the viability grant of about $292,000 that is coming to us from the county. Now we could take action on that. So as Mr. Sheikh Al-Sami said, there are other possibilities of grants that could come later. Therefore, we would take action on how we would distribute or allocate those funds on these other positions.
Anything else? So it's back to us?
I'm sorry, yes, back to you. And we are looking for direction from the board this evening on next steps as far as rescinding. We would like to rescind notices, layoff notices to employees as soon as possible. Thank you.
So just to double check, you have access to the tool so you can manipulate the...
Yes, I believe Ms. Stone is going to project in place of Ms. Villasenor so we can get the spreadsheet up rather than the PDF.
Okay, so we'll wait for you to get it set up. Can you blow that up a little bit so people can see it a little bit better? So for the benefit of the public, could you kind of just recap the tool in terms of the rows and the columns? Just some people might be looking at this for the first time. If you could please do that.
Absolutely. So this was the list of items that were identified for reduction back in November, and but the board had indicated that these were the threes, three meaning the items that are most difficult to cut. And they were ordered by the board in February based on the items that you wanted to bring back first if funding was able to be secured. So the spreadsheet reflects the items. They are on the left, you see the item number. Next column is the category, so CE means certificated, CL means classified, the reduction area, whether it's a high school program, an elementary program, site support, etc. Then there's the line item with the description indicating the actual cut. The savings type, if this item is part of the LCAP or some other source. The funding status indicates where funding has been secured. So that's the column that we will be paying close attention to as the business team and Ed Services team secures funding. They'll let us know in HR, and that way we can count on rescinding items associated with things that have been secured. If something was reduced in 25-26 in the current year, we wanted the board to be aware of that because in that particular group may be experiencing a cut 2 years in a row. We also have the impacted FTE, the estimated savings, and then over on the right is the summary of the trustee weighting exercise that you all did individually, and then as a group you provided a score, and then it's the average score for each item, and the legend for that is shown up above. Again, the higher the score, the less likely you were to want to have that reduction go through. Lower score was something that you maybe, none of these were desirable reductions, but maybe it was slightly more comfortable. And then the rescinding order is on the far right in purple. And as I indicated earlier, we have a couple of changes there. A couple of the numbers have shifted slightly.
Okay, great. So this is a little more of a working session. So just for clarification, what's the best way on how to show for the social worker 1.8 is being funded through the viability grant? So is there a certain way that we want to just make sure to clarify that that position now, the 1.8 will be rescinded, correct?
That's provided you give us direction tonight to move forward. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So typically the way we do this with the trustees is to ask questions and then open for public comment and then comments. So in terms of this process, though, it's a little bit more of a working process using the tool. Fellow trustees, do you have any particular questions or comments on how to start this? Trustee Karen?
Sure, I'll go first. Just so I understand the tool, so crystal clear, based on the terms of the CS, so we as a board, when we put together, I'm going to backtrack a bit. As a board, we got together and we agreed on the rescinding order, and you had the two corrections that you mentioned. And then we said at the board meetings when we were agreeing to that order that there would be certain items that may fall out of order from the rescinding order as it relates to funding that is specific to that line item becoming available. And we would look to rescind in some cases out of order if the funding is specific to that item versus a general funding improvement, right? So as an example, if we got more state funding for the general fund, then we would follow the list. Otherwise, if it's specific to the item, it would be specific to that item. So in the case of the CSEA MOU, which is items 1, 2, 5.5, and 8 on your list, the MOU language, which we already approved, specifically obligates us to apply the funding to those line items in the order of that the board had previously agreed, up until the savings amount that was specified in the MOU, which was the 909 number. And so those items equal 909, correct?
Very close, approximately.
Okay. All right.
Would you like to see the total of those items?
Sure. And then while you do that, just to summarize my remaining comments, those items that show as negotiating are specific to APT, and we're still negotiating that, and those. But there's also possibility of other funding that could go to those line items there as well, right? So.
That's correct. As Mr. Sheikh Islami stated, there's other funding sources that everyone is pursuing currently.
Correct.
So the total for the CSEA items that align fairly closely to the MOU is the 906, 813 that you see. Up at the top right, there's a total.
Perfect. Okay. And I think 909 was in the MOU.
That's correct. 909, 850.
Okay. Thank you very much. No further questions.
Okay, other, yes, Trustee Karen.
I have a question. Could you go back to the other graph for just a minute? Yeah, so my question is regarding the health services assistance, and again, I'm probably biased because I live in the elementary world, but I notice we have reduce and reduce at the middle school and the high school, and we have a phase out of the health services. And so I don't know if it's possible. I mean, again, I'm trying to look at that we did such a great job negotiating. I want to give as many people in CSCA a boost. Is there any way we could maybe increase, instead of phase out to reduce, and then maybe, I don't know, reading intervention specialists would be reduced more? I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
I'm going to give it to the fellow trustees. I'm a huge proponent of discussion. So fellow trustees, if you'd like to discourse with this question with Trustee Carrion, I see Trustee Jones.
I understand where you're coming from. My issue with that would be that we have not given the people time or notification to be able to discuss this when it comes to their jobs. Because, for example, RIS might want to speak up or talk about that if we were to do something like that. So I feel like if we were to do that, when we've said that this is the locked-in list, we would need to do public notice for something like that.
Okay. Other trustees, comments or thoughts, please?
I'll just throw in my comments, or maybe we should wait for public comment first. But
no, I meant just to Trustee Carrion's question.
Yeah, I think we went through a very public process, a very, at times, difficult process, and we solicited a lot of public comment and a lot of comment from the people, very real people that are being affected by these. I know it's a line item, we number it and so on, but there's real people's lives behind this, and to revisit or change that without proper notice, as Trustee Jones said, seems is not a process change or something I would encourage at this time.
Okay. Trustee Karen, I appreciate your question, and that's why I was pushing my fellow trustees to help respond to your question, because I think that's really important for us as a board to articulate our different points of views. Trustee Walker, do you want to add anything?
No, I agree. I'm hoping for a way that we could phase back in the HSAs, because I do feel that they're vital. But I agree. We need to do proper notice, and I don't think we're prepared to have that discussion. And we did have a very in-depth discussion multiple meetings, so I think we just need to leave it as is right for.
Can I just ask one more question? Instead of
course, Trustee Carey.
instead of taking it from anywhere else, could we, instead of phase out, can we change it to reduce? I mean, I guess that would be adding to the budget problem. I just hate that they're phasing out. That's just my issue. Everything else is reduce, and that's totally phase out. That's all. I'm asking a question.
We hear you, but I think the process is, for one who's on process, I think the process is.
I'm hearing a no. Okay.
I hear your concern in it, but it's very difficult because then, then what's going to stop me to articulate one of the positions I'm really passionate about? So I think, to be fair. So, all right. Thank you for that question. We're not done with questions. So any other questions? Yes, Trustee Jones.
So my question is kind of just related to the process of the return for some of these. Like, let's look at like elementary science and physical science. So like, let's say we're going through negotiations, alternative funding is coming in. As that is taking place, my question would be like, let's say that partway through we're now at like 2.0 for elementary science specialists. How would that, do we have an idea of how that would potentially look at the school sites? Would that be like a restoration at the third grade level, or at the, I'm just kind of trying to see how would that look as we, because if we get in money, sometimes it's only partially covering.
Mr. D'Alazzo.
Yeah, it will just depend. So I'm looking at my charts here. So the current item is 4.0 reduction, which is 50% of the science specialists. And so if there were to be some other funding source that came and supported a portion of that, then wherever it lands in terms of where we restore or rescind back positions, then we would plan accordingly. It's hard to say here what that would look like, but if monies were to come back specific to the science specialist position, whether in part or in whole, then we would adjust our planning.
Okay, yeah, because I was just giving that as an example, because I was just curious for like the 5.0s, 4.0s, just that general idea of how it might look. Okay.
So can I follow up on that? I'm just wondering, have you been making schedules, potential schedules?
Not personally, but I know Mr. Schrag, our Director of Elementary Education, met earlier this week with a group of staff members, some specialists, administrators, teachers, doing exactly what you asked, Trustee Carrion, to look at possible scenarios.
Are teachers involved and specialists and involved in it?
Mr. Schrag, yes? Please just answer.
Come to the podium.
Just so you
Thanks.
can clearly say who was at your meeting.
Yeah, so earlier this week we met with representatives from elementary specialists, science, PE, and music, along with Evan Branding from APT was there to look at potential options for schedules. And continuing to look at, we have some options developed, and we're also worked with those specialists. There's also an integration specialist in the room who's a former classroom teacher as well, to have that perspective. And we looked at both the schedule, but also all of the planning, that what's it going to mean for training, what's it going to mean for logistics, what's it going to mean for PD. For example, if I'm going to be teaching PE and sharing a PE and with the classroom teacher, how does that look on each site? So we're starting that planning now. We'll continue to have meetings, but we do have some clear ideas about options for schedules and then what that would look like.
Okay, the only other thing I need to add is that it needs to go out to the public as soon as possible, that this could happen.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that's a huge part of that, and there's some different scenarios that we want to get parents in terms of their input on what's of value to them, to be able to inform us on our decision making.
We're also looking at the difference between primary grades and upper level grades, right, Mr. Schrag?
Correct.
Just again, so many different variables and scenarios. Right. Again, given where it lands is what we're planning.
And then, so I just want to follow up with that then. So, Mr. Schrag, then that means that, because I'm optimistic, I firmly believe that through our partners in negotiations, but also just through other grants in our community, that we will start to see some of these return. So are we waiting until they return to potentially look at partials, or are we?
We're planning for the worst and hoping for the best, as Dr. Geisels would say, and so we're looking to plan for the 50% reduction for those three groups, but we also know that we have contingency plans if we were to get some of them back in the interim. So we have some flexible ways to address that with our schedules. We have to obviously weigh if there's a science specialist that's split between multiple sites now, for example. Would it be 3 or 4 sites traveling? Again, we have to look at kind of the different. Again, it's a complex task, but yes, we have plans to be flexible and adjust based on what does come back in.
Okay, because that is a concern for
Absolutely.
for me of how this will play out.
Yeah.
Other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask some general questions. Thank you, Mr. Trag.
Sure.
My questions are a little more general about after this process, just to kind of refresh everyone's memory, because I know we've talked about this at various times in different meetings, but what happens after this particular vote? What's the next step or the next process?
So after we receive direction in HR, we will begin the process of rescinding layoff notices, which would involve an email notification to the employee along with a letter mailed to their home. And as additional sources of funding come in, if the direction from the board is for us to continue through, then we will continue through and continue to rescind. We do have hearings scheduled on April 28th, so that process is ahead of us. And if we are able to rescind notices before the hearings, that's beneficial to all parties. And again, we want to be able to rescind as soon as possible so that we give people a sense of security in their job. We're concerned about losing employees as well. So beyond that, after we rescind, those that we can't rescind because the funding hasn't been secured, if we don't get any additional funding before the final layoff notices have to go out, which would be before May 15th, then the final layoff notices would go out. If funding were to come through after May 15th, then we could continue to go back and rescind even the final layoff notices. And that process can continue through June 30th. Beyond that, if employees have been laid off and we don't have any positions for them at that point, they are added to our 39-month rehire list, or some are added to a 24-month rehire list, depending on their classification or their permanency status. And then if positions come through the summer or later, we could still be offering positions to those folks. But the goal is to move as quickly as possible.
And you referenced the 39-month rehire and the 24-month rehire. Just to recap for those in the audience that might not have been here previously, just high elevator comment, what does that refer to again?
So if a staff member is laid off and they are a permanent staff member, they get added to a 39-month rehire list, meaning if we get an opening, if we have a vacancy, an opening in an area that they are credentialed for in order of seniority, we would call them back and say, would you like to return to PUSD? There's a position for you. And that would go on for 39 months. They could decline the position, but if they don't, the position's there for them. For staff who are probationary, it's the certificated staff for probationary, it's the 24 months that they would be called if there were positions that came up.
Okay, and then the fellow trustees asked this, but I want to reiterate, in terms of additional funding, besides the viability grant, what are the other funding sources? There is reference to potentially Prop 28, which is arts, and then additional potential LCAP funding. What are the other funding pools that the district is looking actively at?
So we are, the foundation provides about $700 and I believe $50,000 annually to us. They determine where those funds are allocated to, and so depending on our discussions with them in terms of how we allocate those, we might be able to use Prop 28 dollars differently. In addition, the foundation is looking at increasing their donations. So those are active discussions we're having with them. They do have a board. They're kind of waiting for the board to make some decisions tonight, and then that will kind of inform them as to how they want to allocate their dollars to PUSD and sit down and work with us. So that's an important component of it. There are a few other grants I know that are in the works that may impact other things. I don't know if they're directly on this list, but will still be beneficial to the district. as well as seeing where the governor's budget lands. So some of the stuff is later in the process, others may be earlier. The sooner, obviously, we know, the sooner we can make decisions on bringing people back.
Okay, so just to break it down a little bit further, because that was really so high level, but to give a clarification, for example, this past year, PPIE funded what? Because I know that they were actually very instrumental in helping secure some positions based upon last year's reductions. So can you give some more context to that? I believe it was elementary music?
Correct. This year they funded about somewhere around $260,000 or $280,000 of music programs at the elementary level, and so when an organization donates, like the PTA or the foundations, they get calculated differently in how the state looks at those dollars. So that will allow us to work with the school sites and look at how we can utilize the Prop 28 dollars differently if the foundation decides to move those dollars to another area. And so that's what they're actively looking at, to move it into science or music, not music, to science or PE or health services. I mean, obviously they can see the list. They have to go through a process, and once they tell us, then that will inform us, and we can come back and say, okay, we got this money that's targeted to these positions, and so what are we going to do with the other dollars that's available to us? So that definitely is going to change some of the rescinding that we have on this list.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. Any other questions, trustees? Okay, so bringing it back, we're in the process of basically identifying roughly as Trustee Brown said, $900,000 worth of funding associated to potential opportunities for rescinding particular positions. What we would like to do right now is open it to public comment for anyone in the audience that would like to come up to talk about this agenda item. Okay, seeing none, we're going to close it. So I'm going to bring it back to the board to provide comments from fellow trustees and narrow down and finalize our direction. I'm going to pass it back to my fellow trustees. Yes, Trustee Brown.
So, yeah, I mean, so first of all, I wanted to compliment staff on item 0. I know that was work. I know you mentioned it as a possibility, but to land it is a very positive thing for this district, and I'm very appreciative of that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because social workers are important, and it's good that we were able to do that. Also, as Trustee Carrion indicated, obviously being able to complete the CSEA MOU provides some through the negotiations process to reduce hours on certain positions, and as annotated in the MOU, allows them to contribute dollars to the table as part of interest-based bargaining, and therefore that can be used to bring back certain CSEA positions that fall within that total envelope that they freed up through freeing those hours. And so it seems pretty clear to me that my recommended motion would be to rescind items 0, 1 to 5.5 and 8, and then allow the discussions with PPIE, with APT, and to get further clarity from the state around any other funding and any other great ideas that staff has to bring back any of these other items. So that would be my recommendation anyway.
So staff, can you pull up the recommendation that he has said verbally so we can see it on the screen again?
If I could, yeah, if I could clarify.
Yeah, I'm saying basically filter out negotiating, and then you're left with those items. So the viability grant restores item 0, the social workers, and then the MOU restores items 1, 2, 5.5, and 8. And that's what I recommend our action should be tonight.
I think if you don't mind me clarifying, I think because things may move quickly, whether it's through negotiations or other funding sources or PPIA making decisions, and we don't meet as often, what would be helpful to us is if you were to give us direction today to move forward with rescinding as funding is secured, without calling out specific items. That way we can continue to move quickly with rescinding as funds come in. Otherwise, we're going to have to come back each time to get approval to rescind specific items. So our ask was that you give us the direction to begin the rescission process on the list as laid out, provided funding has been secured, if that works for you all.
Can we do 2 motions, one for these specific items and then a more generic one for items falling outside of this list that staff has confidence that yeah.
Thank you.
So I would just hide, to be literal, I would hide the viability grant piece because it has that total, it skews the total. Okay, so do you want to well, are there any other comments before we look for a motion?
One thing I really do appreciate is when you look at this list, a majority of the things that are coming back tonight are from the LCAP, and that was an area of large concern for quite a bit of the community. So I'm glad to see that some of the things returning fall within that area. This is still painful. There's still a lot to be done, and we can go further and farther, and I like to believe that we will make that happen. But I agree that the sooner we can return people and get people out of this sense of panic and pain, I think the better. And so I appreciate that we are beginning to move on rescinding people's layoffs. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Trustee Joan. Other comments?
I just want to add on to that I really appreciate the negotiation so that we can bring back some of these positions.
Trustee Walker?
I agree. It's very painful, and I just hope that we can really secure those alternative funding sources quickly so we can get the specialists back and bring back as many people as we possibly can, because it is very, very painful. But I do appreciate all the work, and I do appreciate CSEA negotiating and in good faith and with their bargain-based negotiations. It's lovely, and I'm glad that we're able to bring these positions back, and I just have hope that we can secure additional funding quickly. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just make a couple comments. First, I wanted to thank staff and Dr. Geisels and the board. There's been a lot of collaboration effort, in particular knowledge from HR, educating the board in terms of the process of the rescinding, the notifications. There's a lot of legal requirements to protect all of our employees and to make sure that everything is done in a fair process, just even information on the bumping order and the seniority, and a very complicated process. And that said, this has been a really challenging process because on one hand, I would like to state as a trustee and as the board, I think we've been really proud of the method used to go through this process and trying to engage with with all our parents, families, input from our staff, the labor union parties to get input and to facilitate a very thoughtful process. And so when we look at this tool, it makes it, as Trustee Brown said, there are people behind these positions. And so that's why when I was asking the questions, really pushing on the additional funding, our partners with PPIE or additional grants or the LCAP funding. As you stated, Trustee Jones, there's been a lot of criticism on, if we're going to impact certain positions, how does that impact LCAP funding? And so I just want to appreciate and state that this has been a really challenging process, and I echo fellow trustees' statements that we want to support the continued collaboration with both labor unions, working with the district to support this process and support our personnel. And so this is a very challenging process, and we appreciate all the work behind it and the people helping to serve our students. So that said, I guess we're looking for an official motion, if there's no other comments.
Okay, I'll bite the bullet and make the motion. So my first motion would be to rescind items 0, 1, sorry, I'm going to call out the item numbers. So no, the first one needs to be rescinded officially. So item F.5A, which is 1.8 FTE social worker, F.3, which is 1.75 district parent liaison, F.4, which is 2.625 CWA specialist, J.4, which is elementary library media assistant 2, and J.3 are RIS 3.75 FTE. So
second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote and not including student trustee.
Okay, aye.
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 And aye. Motion passes unanimously. Now we're looking for a second motion.
Sure, I'll follow up on that one too, because I wanted to break it into two. So I'm going to be judicious in my wording here. So given the fact that we're impacting our staff, and impacts to staff are real, and it affects not just the staff, but their families and stress and everything else. If there's an opportunity that if staff is 100% confident that funding has been secured for a specific position, and you're able to restore that and rescind that notification early enough in the process to A, be more efficient, but B, to be more employee focused, I would recommend that the board give you that authority to do that on an at-will basis.
Okay, looking for a second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 And aye. So because we had two motions, I don't know if I need to open for public comment again because we did additional motions. Okay. So is there public comment on either of these two motions that were passed? Okay, closing public.
Would you mind if I just made one quick comment? I just wanted to say that we are in active negotiations with APT still, so that's another potential funding source. I don't want us to forget about that.
Do we need to add that to the motion?
No, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that. Thank you.
Would we, just to clarify though, in the case of a labor agreement though, we would need to, as a board, probably to vote on the MOU. The authorization I just gave you is more for grants and things like that where you're secured, and that MOU would need to be approved before you could say that it's safe to rescind, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I just didn't want anyone to forget that when we talk about funding sources, there's also negotiations.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All right. So, okay. So that covers that agenda item, and then we're ready to move on to agenda item C, which is, where am I? Oh, okay, thank you. Report and discussion for the CSIS report, which is the Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services, which in education we call it CSIS update.
All right, thank you, President McCaughey, and we are going to set up here. Great, oh great, it's already up there. Good evening, President McCaughey, Dr. Geisel's board, cabinet, and community. So we are here to present a presentation. This is part of our quarterly report, actually, for the CSACE. Thank you, Trustee McCaughey, for saying that. I do want to take a little bit of time to kind of just unpack the definition of CSACE. The Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services is very critical to our work, and I have a great team here that I would like them to introduce themselves. I'm sure you all know them, but I won't, for the record, can you just introduce yourselves?
David Schrag, Director of Elementary Education.
Josh Butterfield, Director of Secondary Education.
Debbie Neighbors, Coordinator of Accountability and Special Programs.
Great, thank you, team. So comprehensive means it's all-inclusive. We really take a look at all factors in our root cause analysis when we're determining the CSACE plan. It's coordinated because several departments, several people, including parents, students, staff, really work together to create the plan. And early intervening is very critical as well. It's about pre-referral interventions. It's about being really proactive rather than reactive to our work. So we are in CSACE. The Pleasanton Unified School District is currently in CSACE, and CSACE is determined by the state due to what they call a significant disproportionality factor, and specifically that is based on race and ethnicity, looking at those groups and determining if there is a higher rate of whether it's eligibility for special education, eligibility by disability in special education, placement in more restrictive environments, or discipline based on race and ethnicity, again, of students in special education. So there's many variables, many factors there that we take a look at to determine what is the root cause. The action is that the district, because we are in significant disproportionality, we must use 15% of our federal special education funding to provide this extra support, this early intervention, early pre-referral services for our students. And then again, the main focus is about what services can we provide more efficiently, more effectively in general education prior to students being referred for special education. I'm giving you a lot of information. It's kind of high level, but we're going to dig in and unpack a lot of the things that I'm saying with the team here. So you could see there, I don't like reading slides, but I'll read the bottom of it. Pleasanton CSACE Hispanic and Black students are identified as having a specific learning disability at a disproportionate rate. So I talked about the criteria or the areas that we could qualify in. This is the area that we qualified in. It's Hispanic and Black students who are found as specifically qualifying for special education under one of the 13 categories, specific learning disability being that category. Next slide. Talk a little bit about that 15% mandatory set aside. Couple of things to think about. So we do get funded as a school district for providing special education services for our students. Unfortunately, school districts throughout California are way significantly underfunded for providing or funding those services. We're required to provide the service, but sometimes we call these unfunded mandates. So we're mandated to provide IEP services, but we just don't get the funding. So specifically, this is give or take a few percentages. The state funds about 30% for special education. The federal government funds 10%, and therefore LCFF is funding the rest at 60%. So you could see how we're underfunded really puts a strain on the school district. That being said, the 15% that is now reserved to provide those general education programs and services is not new money. It's not new money that we have to find somewhere else. It's money that comes in from the federal government, and we set it aside. And I said it earlier, this is more of a proactive way of looking at services and being prepared rather than reactive. Sometimes we'll call, once a student is in special education, that's more of a reactive approach of how we spend our funds, but we're really thinking about a proactive way of providing those services. And some logistics, it's a 3-year plan, therefore it's a 3-year allocation. You could see the allocation there starting with the 220, we're currently in the 225-year plan. A little bit of history. Pleasanton was identified significant disproportionate in 2012 to 2015. We got out of SIG-DIS, I'll call it SIG-DIS for short, and then we've been back into SIG-DIS starting in 2020 up to today. I will give it now to our team to talk to you about how we analyze our system. This is a system analysis approach rather than seeing it as a compliance issue. That's not how the state sees it. They see it as a systems approach to really identifying what's the root cause so that we can address CSACE. So I will turn it over to our coordinator, Debbie Neighbors.
Thank you. So this first slide demonstrates the areas that we are in SIG-DIS for, which, as Mr. DeLazo had said, was for our African American and Hispanic students for specific learning disability. The dotted line in the middle of the chart represents the line at which point we could be identified as significantly disproportionate. And our Hispanic has traditionally been somewhat above the line, and we have seen our African American identification grow. Part of that is also related to the size of the student groups. So if you look at the size of the student group of our African American student population versus the overall demographics of the district, when a higher number, it doesn't take as much to make the numbers swing a little bit higher. And just traditionally, historically, across the country, Black and Hispanic students are the most common groups to trigger CSACE. That is even data from the U.S. Department of Education shows that these are the two student groups across the country that typically trigger this. This next one is we wanted to just show how these student groups are performing on the dashboard data, because we are always referencing that. And so just in general, dashboard data for these student groups show mixed results. You see, in general, there's a decline in academic performance, while there's improvements in suspensions and absenteeism rates. Just a note of clarification, there is not a graduation rate for our Black and African American students because there's less than 31 in that just that 12th grade class that have that as their race. All right, so we also wanted to just kind of frame this as a bigger picture in terms of the student groups and the challenges that they're facing and how these supports are so important to help them achieve their goals. And we covered this in our equity presentation before, but you can see the percentages of the student population as a whole, and then you can see at what rate they are in these different categories. So for example, Hispanic students, approximately 1 in 6 receive special education services. African American students, approximately 1 in 5 receive special education services. And we noted the other factors of socioeconomically disadvantaged and English learners because we know both of those provide additional challenge for our students to help them access learning and to have all the supports they need to be a successful learner.
So disproportionate representation of Hispanic and African American students in the category of SLD does raise the question, are those student groups also disproportionately assessed for special education? Because an assessment is the first step in determining eligibility. We've analyzed data about the initial special education assessments conducted in PUSD for the past 8 years. And we do see consistent patterns. Hispanic and Black or African American students, as well as English learners, make up a greater percentage of those students who are assessed for special education than their percentage in the overall student population. So in the graph that you're looking at right now, Hispanic, the set of data for Hispanic students on top and African American students on the bottom, In the Hispanic student groups, the orange bars represent the percentage of Hispanic students in the total student population in Pleasanton. The blue bar represents the percentage of initial assessments that are conducted on Hispanic students. So you can see that a larger percentage of initial assessments are being conducted on with Hispanic students relative to their proportion of the total population. Next slide. The same pattern stands for English learners, but you may notice with our Asian student population, the pattern is reversed. So whereas Asian students make up 60% of the total population of PUSD, less than 40% of the initial assessments are conducted with that population. Next slide. Go ahead and click. All the way through. There we go. So it can be tempting to assume that if Hispanic and African American students make up a larger percentage than expected of students identified with SLD, that it's our assessment practices that are to blame. Maybe we're missing the mark and we're finding students eligible when they don't really have learning disabilities. However, after conducting extensive file reviews, providing numerous trainings on culturally and linguistically sensitive assessment procedures, and utilizing the most up-to-date methodology for determining if a learning disability exists, we don't believe this to be the case, at least not a pattern where we're misidentifying students. And so then we need to explore alternate theories. For example, are there students who do have learning disabilities that aren't being identified? Do our Tier 1 instruction and our targeted intervention programs reach some students but leave others behind? These are some of the issues that we're hoping to address through the CSACE process and plan. Next slide. So CSACE is a function of general education. However, because our requirement to engage in CSACE is a result of special education disproportionality, the Department of Special Education is intimately involved in supporting the work of CSACE. In our participation in site cost team meetings, our special educators guide teams to explore a variety of sociocultural factors that may affect student performance aside from disability. We ensure that we are utilizing assessment methods that can accurately identify or rule out disabilities in culturally or linguistically diverse students. And we regularly meet with site administrators to review their individual sites' special education referral and assessment data.
So part of the identification process for CSACE provides some state oversight, state support, as well as the support of a technical assistance facilitator provided by the state of California. We work closely with this facilitator to complete a root cause analysis. Part of that process included leveraging the expertise of site staff, district staff, parents, and students over multiple days where we looked at the data, looked at contributing factors, and did a thorough root cause analysis. On this slide, you see 3 large buckets that we have identified as root causes that are contributing to disproportionate assessment and placement into special education for our Hispanic and African American students. The first one is a more complete MTSS handbook. And while we have strong MTSS systems at individual sites, we have work to do on improving cohesion and alignment across the district and throughout to make sure that we have very predictable processes and structures at every single site for every student. We have identified the need for additional Tier 1 differentiation and targeted intervention. So while we continue to provide intervention supports for our Hispanic and African American student groups, those supports point to an underlying need to improve Tier 1 instruction. There's a saying that you can't intervene your way out of a Tier 1 struggle. And then the last root cause is a consideration of social cultural factors that are potentially impacting students' educational performance and the engagement from our staff during these assessment processes as well. So in terms of our MTSS implementation, we continue to develop our MTSS handbook. I want to acknowledge Janet Gates, Amy Wallace, and all of our curriculum instruction team who've been working very hard on building that out. We've increased our training of COST teams with new resources and support considering social cultural impacts and how to best support students.
So this represents our latest plan that was developed in the fall, the 2025 plan. And from those analysis of the key findings, we created two what they call high-yield strategies that we are going to address. And there are actions then listed under each strategy. So these are kind of the big buckets of the plan. The first one is the fidelity or integrity of our MTSS structures across the district. The second strategy is the actual implementation of targeted interventions. So basically we're doing a systems approach as well as the individual student approach. And of course that kind of underlying prerequisite for all of this work to be successful is to make sure we have the strongest general classroom instruction for every student. So this shows you we already have work in progress. We've been working on this plan. You can see the inventory of MTSS support began as part of the previous year's plan. We've been sharing it with counselors, principals, assistant principals. It's been run by we've worked with the COST leads to develop that, and the integration specialists have been also very important, as well as student services and whatnot. Our next process is having a process map for MTSS. So when are the decision points? When do you decide a student needs to have additional supports? When do you decide what data is helping you decide they're making adequate growth and we need to continue on the path because we've identified what works? One gap we've noticed in doing this work is that we do not have what we call a universal screener to have data points typically 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of year. So that way we can see how each student is doing compared to the grade level expectations. Also in progress is, or that we will continue to develop after, we've got to do all of this in a timeline, right? There's a natural sequence to things, and that is developing professional development and training for our staff for these new resources, as well as looking at more concrete ways to evaluate the impact of social, cultural implications of each individual student on the needs and the services that would best support them. And then as we have these new tools in place, how are we going to review and ensure that it's being implemented consistently and with integrity across the campuses. And then under strategy 2, that's where you're working directly with students. This will build on the previous slide. And just on a reminder that intervention happens daily at all of our sites, regardless of CSACE. It's happening for all identified students, including these targeted student groups. And this is critical because, in particular, our Black and African American student group is smaller in numbers, and they're dispersed across all of our campuses. And because of that, rather than targeting our actions at one particular site, if we're truly going to make an impact for that particular student group, it really needs to be a systems-wide approach, and we need to have all schools making sure they're looking at that student group, right? We can't just target to one. It wouldn't make enough of an impact. And so rather, these sites that are listed serve as our data points that we will collect in our quarterly CSACE reports, as opposed to being the only locations of the work. That work is happening every day across every campus.
I want to be mindful of our presentation time, but the next series of slides outlines different actions and strategies that are also contributing to supporting our African American, Black student groups and Hispanic student groups. And so I won't go through and read all of these verbatim, but just to give you an idea that CSACE funds aren't the only funds that we're using to address our struggles and to address disproportionality. We know that students are referred to special education because they're struggling in the academic setting, right? So we have LCAP funds, we have title funds, we have general fund and CSACE funds that are contributing to supplemental supports that are in addition to the basic services that we are providing our students that are focused on our student groups.
And just one final thing, again, this is where the rubber meets the road. Just wanted to kind of highlight back to those 3 major root causes. These are actions that really highlight the idea of working directly with students, some of these actions, but also building teacher capacity in terms of that Tier 1 instructional system that we want to improve for all students. So it's a complex, kind of pronged approach, but that idea that we're trying to make teachers better all the time to support these students, but also directly working with the students that need it now. So just the list is there, and I won't read it, but it's just an important kind of blend of those, addressing those 3 root causes in multiple ways to ensure our continued progress. And with that, we'll take some questions.
Yeah,
Hey.
just
Go ahead.
No, I just want to wrap it up. So just, we have the historical data. The data is very compelling. We're working daily. Again, it's not just where these funding sources are coming from. It's really a comprehensive look at the system. And I just really want to emphasize that. It's what is our instructional system, from instruction, intervention, assessment, monitoring. It's all those different pieces that we look at on the daily. Teachers and principals are doing a great job of that. And thank you very much for the time. And now we can take questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to bring it back to the board for questions. Trustee Carrion.
Okay, could you go to slide 7 and 8? And I'm just going to say that as a teacher, I'm kind of really frustrated with this one because it feels like as a teacher it takes forever to get a student identified. You know, we go through interventions, we stand on our head, we do all these things. And so my question is, first of all, I don't want teachers to feel like they can't send somebody in for assessment because, we have these numbers that are out of whack. But I have 2 questions, like how many of these requests come from parents? Because sometimes parents they write a letter and they say, hey, I want my student assessed. But also, how many of these students that we're assessing actually do qualify? So.
Thank you for the question. I do have that data. It was too much to put on all these slides, so I'll be happy to provide that for you. But just a reminder that no matter where the referral comes from, the referral is initiated because a student may be struggling. And I think that in Pleasanton, not unlike other places throughout the state, that special education can be viewed as the way for a student to get support. And that is true. We provide services to struggling students. But special education is designed for students with identified disabilities. And that is a small segment of our general population in the world. It's a small segment of our PUSD population. And there are many other reasons that could explain student performance aside from disability. And so the pre-referral process needs to explore and to identify and to intervene and provide support in those ways that are not disability that may be impacting a student performance.
No, I appreciate that answer, but it seems like we're getting dinged by these for asking to be assessed by the state. Is the state the one that is saying that we're assessing too many students?
No. It was difficult to design some metrics and a way of looking at how students get into and identified into SLD, and not just looking at Hispanic and Black students, but but looking at the whole process of identification under SLD. And a good metric that we have available data, is to look at those assessments that we are conducting in special education, because no one becomes eligible for special education without an assessment. That's the door. And so we need to look at that process. Essentially, the only way for us to not be significantly disproportionate anymore is for the group of students identified to either be smaller, or for the pot of students with SLD to be bigger, right? So that their proportion of the overall of the numbers of students with SLD to be more normalized and to be more in proportion. But this is not about, are we assessing too many? Are we, should we not assess Hispanic or Black students? No, absolutely not. But what I'm saying is the reason for the assessment is that we're assuming disability instead of exploring fully all the many other factors that might be at play.
Okay, so if I'm clarifying this, what you're saying is that if a student is having trouble, it may not be because of special education. It may be about A, B, C, and D, and that we need to get to the root cause of.
Yeah, and when we're looking at a student who's struggling, which our teachers, our staff, our intervention specialists, our principals are responding to struggling students, we ask the question, do we have a suspected disability, or is the student struggling and they need some extra help? So we always want to go to the student's clearly struggling, so let's try that extra help. Let's see if they can make progress within the functions of our general education intervention system. If a student's showing progress within those interventions, that doesn't indicate a disability many times, and it allows our general education staff to serve students through that process. I also, in the world of like accountability, we consider this an opportunity to reflect on our practices and look at what we can improve. And so yes, there's paperwork to be done and reports that need to be submitted, and there's some work for all of us to do, but really it's an opportunity to look at our systems and practices of what can we improve to be more thorough in serving our students.
I'd like to add one more thing. We do have an obligation through the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, which is a federal act, along with the California Code of Regulations, on something called child find. So school districts are obligated and mandated to find students with disabilities through a process. And Dr. Ricard said it correctly. It's about an assessment process. And as a psychometrician myself, that process is robust. And we take it very seriously to identify a student and call a student as having a disability. So you hit it right on the head, Trustee Carrion, right at the end there. We need to look and see what other factors, what other things could be impacting a student. If a student has not attended school regularly, they automatically will not be qualified for a specific learning disability, because that's one of the disclaimers. So I'm giving you that as an example, but you hit it right on the head. We have a system that will look at other things that may be impacting that child's ability to achieve at a level that maybe they should be achieving.
Thank you. Other questions? Trustee Jones.
All right, so I have a couple of questions. Number one, and it's been, as we were going through this, it's been brought up before that it's important to see role models of your community as adults within schools. And so I was just kind of curious, do we have the numbers for principals and APs that identify within these different groups of like Black, Latino, Asian, or other groups within the district?
Sure, we track that through our Human Resources Department. Ms. Graywell?
I don't have the data right now, but we could get it to you.
All right. And then the same for teachers, because I was just curious how it's looking for our students of how often do they see adults from within their community as role models at these different sites, or if there are some where that might be something that we need to potentially address. And then my next question would be, I'm just really curious because I've never actually asked even my own district about this. Do we reassess students entering a district if their prior district is flagged for over-assessing to make sure that we're not potentially perpetuating the prior bias from that district?
Go ahead, Senior Director of Special Education. You will know the answer.
So once a student is found eligible for special education, then a reassessment must occur no longer than 3 years from that point. So we have a 3-year window of time that we're providing services based on student need. If a student comes from another district, the law requires us to implement the IEP that was in place in that prior district. And then we do that for a period of 30 days, and then we hold an IEP meeting to adjust the IEP or the services as we've gotten to know the student over the month. Sometimes what we see is we're actually not seeing that this IEP matches what we're seeing in a student, and we may propose to assess the student earlier than the 3-year time frame, just to make sure that we're checking all areas of suspected disability and all areas of potential need. So it can be, there's not a rule that we assess them when they come in, but we have that option.
Okay, I'm just making sure I don't cut anyone off too. I don't want to be rude. My next question is also, are there any communities that we see within our district where there's like a refusal to test because that might be causing us issues with these numbers as well?
I wouldn't say that we've identified any patterns in terms of student groups or grade levels or any sort of subsection of students where there's a refusal to participate in an assessment process. It happens occasionally with individual students, and we try to work through that.
All right, because I know that sometimes there can be a concern for immigration, especially because there are other countries that will discriminate against you if you are found to have a disability. Canada is actually apparently one of those. That makes it harder to immigrate there if you are flagged. So that's why I was just kind of curious if there might be a concern within some of these communities to be like, especially if we're dual citizenship, of that fear.
Thank you. I'm not aware of that occurring here in Pleasanton.
Okay. My last question, since we've been bringing up especially ELs in Valley View, I know that the bilingual EL specialist is potentially leaving this year at that site. So I was wondering if we're finding a bilingual IS to replace that person. And then my next question too is, if we have bilingual ISs, do they still get something like the B-clad stipend even though they're not teaching within that class, or do we do something similar?
So we do have a bilingual specialist, right, and we're looking for someone and want to value that having a bilingual IS is valuable. That being said, if we cannot find that one, we still need to find ways to support those students in their literacy in English. So I'll leave it to Ms. Graywall to talk about the B-clad piece of that, but we know that the work at Valley View continues to make sure we, to the extent we can, honor students' primary language and continue to grow it. But again, staffing is always difficult. The question becomes, if we cannot find a bilingual IS, how do we continue to support those students in their literacy? And that's the challenge.
Sorry to interject. I'm sorry. IS stands for?
Intervention specialists. So those
sorry, we've got to be careful.
Staff members that their job is to support students' literacy.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Trustee Jones.
No worries.
Specifically, you were asking, Trustee Jones.
Oh, yeah. So normally, especially in this and other districts, if you are a teacher with a B-clad, you are getting a stipend because you are using that language in the class. The IS is not officially in a classroom, but they're still using those skills. So do we remain competitive by still paying that person a B-clad stipend, or do we do something similar to that so that we can make sure we hire those roles?
We don't currently have language for that in the contract, so it's something we'd need to negotiate.
All right. I would say that's probably, especially for a role like that, something we should definitely look into. All right. Thank you guys so much. Those are all of my questions.
Trustee Brown? Anyone else? Other questions? Trustee Walker?
Yes, I'm interested in the exploration of the socio-cultural factors impacting performance. I think we briefly touched on that in our ad hoc committee. I'm just curious, like, how will the professional development around socio-cultural factors how does that actually translate into measurable changes in Tier 1 instruction?
I'll start with the first part of that, and someone else can jump in. But when we're talking about the sociocultural factors, the CSACE plan is talking about it in terms of when you're talking about a student, perhaps at a cost meeting, right? That's that committee on the campus that discusses a student that a teacher may have concerns about. That are we making sure we're not just looking at academic performance, but are we also, paying attention to is there something happening in the family? That are they unhoused? Are they a language learner? Right. We know a language learner impacts academic performance. So we want to make sure that whatever structures we're putting in place to make our MTSS system more robust and more consistent, that we make sure that those conversations are happening around the academic pieces. Additionally, when you are talking about the culture of some specific student groups, that certain student groups have certain characteristics that may come to mind as a student being really quiet because that's the norm in their family. Might not be an academic concern. There might be something cultural that's going on there that's preventing that. So we want to make sure that we are trying to build some structures or some talking points within those conversations to help ensure those are at least being talked about so the student is being looked holistically.
Yeah, and Ms. Neighbors spoke to it earlier when she presented a slide about how this is our work every day, and these strategies are woven into everything that we do. And so from a Tier 1 instructional standpoint, we've been on year 6 or 7 of PD, whether it's letters training on how to provide explicit literacy instruction at the early grade levels. So almost all of our K through 2 teachers have been trained with literacy practices because that was one of the identified gaps in our practice. We're looking at curriculum adoption that helps level playing fields. And so, we deal with curriculum sometimes that assumes that kids are all walking in the door with the same home experience before they even set foot on our campus. And so we're looking for curriculum that helps level that playing field, that builds that knowledge around for all of our students equally. And then from professional development, we also train on explicit instruction practices. The board revised hate-motivated behavior policy. So there's different steps that we've taken along the way over the last 4 years that we've been here working through this that are moving towards making sure that we're inclusive practices that Dr. Ricard has been leaving to making sure that our schools are a more inclusive place for students and that our instructional strategies are taking out environmental unpredictable factors that contribute to student success. So what we want to make sure is that we're taking more control of preventative strategies within the classroom and Tier 1 instruction.
And just one more thing, quick thing to add. You heard about culturally responsive pedagogy, right? How are we implementing, how are we providing instruction, how are we providing intervention from my colleagues. Just the reality of what some of our students go through just to even get up and go to school. And I'm talking about some of our unhoused students, our students who are SED, socioeconomically disadvantaged. And we're seeing, actually, we did the analysis, there's an overlap with some of our ethnic and racial student groups with those 2 factors, SED and unhoused. So those multiple factors really compound, and it could literally boil down to a student, a family who needs a toothbrush, who needs toothpaste just to get up and do the necessary hygiene things to come to school. What do we do about that? That's part of that socio-cultural question that you asked, Trustee Walker. So we have social workers. We just approved the social workers, right? So that we have staff that provide that wraparound service, the concept being it's school and home wrapping around services for students. I wanted to highlight that those are very real things that impact our students. The student may not have a learning disability per se, but there's those factors that we talked about earlier, Trustee Carrion, that actually impact that student to learn, because it's so compelling how difficult it could be just to even wake up sometimes.
Thank you.
Of course, Trustee Johnson.
So I was just curious because of tonight with what we just did. So with the positions that we just restored, CWA, social workers, RIS, and so forth, are those restored positions going to now be additional things that you're adding back into this plan, or were they already in this plan preemptively?
It's actually already in the plan. You saw some of the slides there. You see the overlap. CSACE is a small portion, but you also saw LCAP funded positions. So those plans are in the works. What we do is the modification of plans depending on the maybe new needs that come up, or maybe let's put more services to that wraparound service, for example. What would that look like? So it's kind of both. It's already in our plans, Trustee Jones, but it's a fluid plan depending on how the needs arise.
Okay, because I was just curious, because I know before tonight there was the phase out of the RISs happening. So, but now with 3.5 restored, beyond what you just have alone in the LCAP,
Those positions that you had discussed, RIS and intervention specialists, did not include CSACE targeted plans, because those plans were already submitted in part of our state plan. And so there's one position on each that are funded from these CSACE funds. And so what you were looking at were general fund funded positions. These were restricted fund funded positions that are different than that.
Other questions? Okay. I don't have any questions. Great presentation. So I'm going to open it for public comment on this particular item. It looks like we do have one coming on up. Go ahead and feel free to speak, and then you can fill out the comment card afterwards, just to be efficient. Thank you. 3 minutes, please.
Understood. Thank you very much. Members of the board, to be clear on the public record, this is money being taken away from special education. The 15% funding allocation discussed tonight is a mandatory federal requirement rather than a discretionary district investment. This is a legal consequence of 3 consecutive years of administrative noncompliance regarding state equity standards. Because this situation developed over a multi-year period, it should have been flagged to the board, it should have been flagged to the community well in advance of tonight's mandatory penalty. The special education community needs to understand that while 15% of our funding is being taken away from existing student services, there is a defined legal pathway to get this money back. This reduction does not have to be permanent if the district successfully meets the federal reasonable progress metric. This is a government-imposed reallocation where 15% of our federal funds are being removed from core special education services because of this specific penalty. Now, during tonight's presentation, Debbie Neighbors noted that intervention is as a critical function, quote, occurring every day at school sites, specifically highlighting the importance of integration specialists and counselors. However, during the earlier rescission discretion agenda item that we just went through, the secondary intervention specialist role was ranked number 19 out of 24 on the priority list. There is a clear disconnect when the district identifies intervention as a primary goal on this agenda item, while simultaneously in just the previous agenda item, placing these essential intervention staff near the bottom to be saved. Given that this 15% of funding is being taken away from standard special education budget, my final question to the board concerns the strategy for restoration. What is the specific documented plan to return this funding to our special needs students? This community needs to understand the concrete mathematical targets and the timeline for meeting this federal reasonably progress metric so that these resources can be successfully restored to our special education program and to our special education students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment questions or statements? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I'm going to bring it back to the board for comments.
I just would like to follow up at those questions, Dr. Geisel.
Certainly, yeah, the district staff will look into the questions that were presented at public comment, absolutely. And just to remind the public, we do have a tracker that tracks all public comment throughout the board meeting, and staff in the district check on that periodically to respond. So that will be taken care of. Thank you. Other comments from the presentation? I'm sorry, Trustee Jones?
I was just saying my comments were answered in my questions that I was asking.
Okay, so I'll just make some concluding comments. I wanted to thank everyone for your time. It was a very extensive presentation. I've had the opportunity to serve on the board for multiple years, and the CSIS report has been since I've been on the board, which highlights the point that there has been a systematic process for the district to identify that, for example, the disproportionality with our African American and Hispanic students classified in special ed, for example, or the disproportionality and with suspensions. I think the point that we need to reiterate and to highlight over and over and over is to highlight just some of the celebrations and accomplishments, but we have a lot of work to do, and we need to identify specific ways so we can help move the needles. I think as part of the challenge, even to the chart that's currently displayed, when you look, for example, at our percentage of African American students, I believe it's 2.6% of the district student population, or 3%, I can't see exactly.
1.6.
Sorry, 1.6. So what does that equal in number of students? We're talking about roughly 150 students, about 200 students. So the challenge when we look at data, you have to triangulate the data. And the disproportionality, oh my God. Yes, got it. It gets blown completely under a magnifying glass because one student's performance can skew, I don't want to say skew the data, but the percentages, it doesn't leave a lot of margin for error. But that said, we need to identify more additional significant strategies that really help these students so that we don't have the similar presentation year after year after year, which gets frustrating because then it's like, well, what have we done? So I think it's important that and that's why that was one of my questions prior, was like, I want to actually see the report, the data, but we need to continue to identify how does it actually execute into results in the classroom. So I appreciate the points identified. Something that really stood out was the universal screener. That needs to get dialed in quickly because that's an example of where we might be missing students that continue to struggle. So I appreciate the honesty and the in-depth reflections and the additional targets that are being identified, because if anything, I would also just reiterate and echo that we need to get these reports. I know we have to do this annually, but we do appreciate the celebrations and the periodic updates of the milestones that we are making, because there are challenges, but there are also celebrations. So that's just a concluding comment. So with that said, this was just a presentation, correct? Not an official
just
approval.
A report and discussion.
Okay,
not approval.
great. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We really, really appreciate that. I'd like to amend the agenda, fellow trustees. I'd like to move a discussion item F up to the agenda now, and then the other two agenda items later after a short 5-minute break. So if that would be okay, I'm looking for a motion, or I'll just make the motion to approve and move up.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Oh, so, I didn't hear it. Aye. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. So for this next item, I will highlight very briefly. This is a discussion action for the 2026 CSBA Delegate Assembly runoff election for Subregion 7B in Alameda County. We have two candidates that's a runoff, Elsie Lee from Emory and Gabby Blackman from our neighboring district from Dublin. I would just like to thank once again Trustee Jones for throwing your name in the hat. Really appreciate that. was hoping to have your name up here, but thank you, and there'll be other
no, I was
opportunities.
elected.
Oh, how did I miss that?
It was the last meeting. This is a runoff for a different section.
Oh, I'm so confused. I didn't. Well, where did I not get the notice on that? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I apologize. So, I rewind that. Congratulations to Trustee Jones for joining and taking my place. So, I apologize, and I've completely embarrassed myself. So, okay. So, I'm actually going to recommend Gabby Blackman. Some of us have known her personally, and so I'm going to just throw her name out for consideration as a nomination. But
I don't know either candidate, so I'm happy with your recommendation, if you know the candidates.
I'm going to, sorry, but I'm going to strongly disagree with Gabby Blackman. I don't know Elsie Lee very well, but I would, just because of what I have experienced, I would go the opposite direction.
okay, that's fine. Then we can propose that motion. Do you want to make a motion, Charlie?
And then we can have discussion, and someone can do a counter motion if they'd prefer, but we can at least get it started.
Officially, I just was throwing the name out. I didn't even make a motion.
Does anyone else have an opinion on either candidate? Do you want to abstain from the vote?
Maybe. I work in Dublin. You can abstain. Okay, Trustee Jones, just make your motion, because you're going to have to work with this person. So I guess my point would be, because you are officially elected, and the delegate assembly for the Alameda County, or that sub-region in general, is very tight. And so if you're, yeah, I just would state that it's important. No, it happens. It happens.
So yeah, I would just, I guess I will, if we want to do motions, I would motion that we do Elsie Lee.
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
Yes. Referential vote? Aye.
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 Sorry, aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion passes with preferential vote 5-0, and a super shout out. Congratulations, Trustee Jones, for joining. I just wanted to state that's amazing. This is going to be really exciting and a great opportunity. We're going to look forward to updates on that. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to adjourn for 5 minutes. We'll come back at 8:55. Great. Thank you, everyone. For anyone in the audience, feel free to have a seat. Come join us. All right. So we have 2 other agenda items. Item D, report and discussion strategic plan 2026-2030 process launch with Dr. Geisel's at the lead. So go for it. We're all ears. You have an allotted. It's been amended to 2 minutes. No, just kidding. 30 minutes.
Well, I was going
I'm
to
kidding.
adjust the agenda and go to 45. But I'll try
like
to
the
stick
glasses.
to 30. Can you hear me? Yes. Feelings. Okay, good. All right, so this sounds counterintuitive with all the heavy lifting you've done. Let's look forward, though, so I can do this myself here. So when we look at the purpose of looking to the future, we need to look at our beliefs, and what this really is a refresh. It is not a do-over. It's not start from scratch. We have a strategic plan. It's really leaning into the beliefs, and it's refining our vision and mission, which is pretty easy to do once we get to the beliefs. You know, we have directions. Those are clear. They're not going to change much. We'll revisit those too. We looked at those last spring, and those are my goals. And then finally, we'll continue to align systems, because that's where the action is and where everything hits the road, particularly in the LCAP and the SIPSs, the site plans. So why now? Well, our plan is 10 years old. Yes, we've looked at the directions. And actually, when the item after this in your governance handbook, the slide 5 is your current strategic plan, which shows all of what they called the core values. I'm going to call them beliefs, and it talks about your directions and the like. And it's really about looking to the future, and it's about culture, consistency, and coherence, which is our leadership's team, the 3 C's. Now, why beliefs? Why are beliefs so important? And, you know, it's not about getting touchy-groovy. Culture, you know, in the words of Jim Collins, you know, the cliche, it eats strategy for lunch. It happens whether or not you articulate it. The way people feel about each other, the way they work together, the way their attitudes are, when they're talked about, they translate into constants that are the most important thing about how we hire people, whether people stay or go. People come and go, goals come and go, board members come and go, superintendents come and go, but the culture remains. It's a constant. And it's really looking at who we are. Now, I want to give you an analogy of this. You know, and I'm going to sound a little professorial here. I went through Chevron's Total Quality Management, 6 Sigmas and GE's black belt in that continuous process improvement. Design thinking. I'm steeped in improvement science and organizational development. That's where my doctorate is. But I'd rather tell a parallel story about culture. I was really fortunate to be a little kid when people first landed on the moon. It was unbelievable. And fast forward, I revisited that last Sunday. Did anybody watch live Artemis come back in? Did anybody watch the press conference with the astronauts? It was, what's that? It was really fascinating. I look back at the Apollo mission, and I remember I was a paper boy for the Herald Examiner folding papers. And I remember in the late 60s when Apollo 1, the 3 astronauts burned. They couldn't get out. They were dead. It shocked the nation how bad it was. And when they got to the root cause of it, what they found was, sure, the wiring was bad, it was shoddy, but they realized it was a culture of going too fast and not being safe enough. Just like the O-ring disaster in the 1980s. That's a textbook classic example of culture. They wanted to go too fast. No one wanted to say no. They were afraid of getting whacked because of timelines. And the astronauts were killed, including a teacher, right? Probably the best case of NASA culture was actually one of the biggest failures they've ever had where no one died, and that was Apollo 13. Has anyone seen the movie? Right? Their culture was make it work. Failure is not an option. And the way they worked together as a crew in Houston, the way the astronauts worked together, developed or portrayed a culture that was very enunciated. Failure was not an option. We're going to work this thing. Artemis came in at the speed, when it came into the atmosphere last Sunday, it came in at the speed of if you were flying at a high altitude in a commercial airline and you land, that usually takes about 22 to 25 minutes to get to the ground. That thing was moving so fast through the atmosphere, it went from that distance of high altitude of a commercial flight to the ground in 1 second. That's how high the stakes were. And if you watched Houston, which is kind of like the administration, and then you watched the astronauts, they really worked together as a crew. So, what's this have to do with culture? When that press conference happened, and the press conference the next day, do you think the astronauts talked about technical matters? They talked about their culture. They talked about values, beliefs of not letting each other down, of everybody contributing. You know, NASA ran $50 million over their $50 million budget. It cost billion, excuse me, with a B. $100 billion they spent. What they didn't talk about was all the technical aspects of it. They talked about how close they were, how they leaned into each other, and all those beliefs that NASA is all about right now. And it's not much different than what we have right here. So what I want to do, and again, it's not warm, fuzzy. It's really, you know, culture happens whether you talk about it or not. It's just like family. It's just like family. It's like, what makes us a family? What do we value? What are our beliefs? So that's what we're going to spend most of our time on. And it's just not a fuzzy exercise, because when we unpack those beliefs, again, we're talking about how do we hire people? What's our match with our culture, right? How do we talk with each other in performance management? How do we call each other on our beliefs that lead to our behavior? So again, it's about culture. Wait a second, got to get my thing. So the framework here, talking about all of these things, directions, focus, LCAP, and action and the like, is really a strategic alignment. You can see there the beliefs are penultimately, not penultimately, the top thing. The vision, the mission. The vision is going to be more future orientated, that what the things look like. It's aspirational. And the mission is more of, what are we going to do? When we get up in the morning and put our boots on, what's our mission? And then we come up with the strategic directions, which last about 5 to 7 years, if we're good, right? We'll revisit those every year. Directions are more at a higher elevation that live longer than, say, an LCAP, which is year to year, or a SIPSA, which is year to year. So you can see those directions cascade into the LCAP and to the system, or excuse me, the SIPSAs. So what's your engagement? What's your timeline? Tonight is the kickoff. It's the launch. May 7th, we're going to have a special board meeting, and we're actually going to review and develop a draft of the beliefs. Now, all of this, we're not going to do this tonight because we want to have a special board meeting. You're actually going to get homework. The homework's going to probably come to you, which is teachers should never get homework on a Friday afternoon, but you're going to get it on a Friday afternoon. The good news is you got, I'll tell you when it's due. I think it's in the next slide. You got a week to do it. But what we're going to do is I'll send you individual, just like we did with the Excel sheets, with the reductions. You'll have a Word doc. You'll have it individual with your name on it. And you will have the existing core values, beliefs, and I will send you through a series of prompts for you to reflect your thoughts and feelings and story about our current beliefs and augment those to come up with additional beliefs. I will call all that together and will bring a working draft for you on May 7th. So we'll have a special meeting. It'll be fresh. It'll be the only thing, hopefully, on the agenda, and you can work on it. Then, you notice I said this is a refresh. We're not going to bring in an elephant here to teach the color pink. We're going to get this done, because if we can come up, and then it's I'll show you the road show. It's a listening tour of all, taking your draft, listening to a bunch of various groups. I come back on June 11th. You refine your beliefs more. We work on the vision and the mission and directions, and then final approval on June 18th. Now, why do I want to push this? Again, I don't want to over-process, and two, it would be wonderful if we had all this locked and loaded for when we come back and we bring the leadership team together and we start planning for the year. It's the foundation of our symposium and the like. Make sense? So then, this is the group will go out. Again, you will do your homework. You'll do your homework. I will get that. I will create the draft of the beliefs. And then starting in May 7th, after that meeting, that special board meeting, I will go to all of these groups and listen and learn what their thoughts, their reactions, their feelings are about your beliefs. And then I'll come back the third board meeting, the fourth board meeting, like it was in the graphics in the previous slide, on June 11th and 18th. Now, here's the bottom line. Great deal, no cost. There's no consultants. I will be spearheading this, working closely with President Bakashi and Vice President Walker, and then either Suzanne or Lanita will go with me on the listening tour. So that's really good news. No cost for consultants, and I really don't think we need to mess around with the logo or the look or feel. It's beautiful, it's fine, the tagline is good. This is more about the beliefs. So you'll get your pre-work, which will be done next Friday, May 1st. I would imagine it's going to take an hour and a half, 2 hours of writing and thinking. And again, it's prompts reflecting on our current beliefs, and that's it. How's that for 30 minutes?
Fantastic. That went right in alignment with our adjusted to 10 minutes. Fellow trustees, questions and comments. Trustee Carrion.
I have a question. Why was CSEA not included in this?
Oh, they are. We're still working on that. Thank you. They definitely are. I talked.
NA.
What's that?
Number 4, it says NA, the date.
Oh, probably doesn't have a date yet.
That's because we still haven't talked to them about exactly the format. It should
correct that.
It should be TBD. But we did talk to, I talked to Evan today. And what we're going to do with Evan, I even told you, Lanita, we're going to do a come one, come all Zoom. He thinks that's the best way to attract most people. I just need to talk to Ryan.
We did talk to Ryan. So we did talk to Ryan.
So what did we decide?
She said CSA does not have to have their own. They can invite all of CSA to be all staff on May 19th.
Okay. So they prefer all staff. So thank you, Trustee Carrion. Any other comments?
On this order, when do you get to the mission and the vision?
We could, if we look at the timeline, I would like to have drafts of the beliefs, the vision, and the mission options for you when we have the special board meeting to get started.
So number 2 or number 6?
Wait, where's not what?
It'll be at number 2.
It'd be number 2. May
Board
7th.
number 2?
Yeah.
Drafts is he's proposing.
Why are you starting with the beliefs versus starting with the mission? Why were you?
You know,
I know
in
you
my
can do
work,
it either way. I just wanted to know why you're doing it that way.
That's a great question. What I have found in my work with strategic planning, I've done it with several districts, when you get the beliefs down first, and then you look at the directions too, it's easier to call that into, call it down to a vision and mission than it is the other way around. The other way around, you got to start fitting it, where when you go wide, you have a lot of content to start generating multiple options for your vision and mission.
Okay. And I hope when you say you're not going to change the logo, you meant the logo in the upright. I really, really hate our current vision statement with the globe in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just looks like something from the 70s.
That is correct.
Okay.
Because for the record, and in all defense, for the previous superintendent and staff and cabinet and everyone who was involved with that branding process, the P sunrise thing, whatever, that's a very new logo within only 2 years, so we're not rebranding.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the strat plan that we have today with the globe.
Will be gone.
Okay, good.
Oh, the one with the big globe.
Yes, it'll be gone.
We don't need to, that's gone. That's not our logo. Thank you, Trustee Brown.
Yes, Trustee Jones.
So my first thing here, so where you see the AVHS student leaders and Foothill and Village Ones May 4th through the 8th, I agree that is great to hear from our school leaders, but my question is, would we be able to also do the student identity clubs, BSU and QSA? Because quite often we have students who should be reflective in being a part of this, but aren't necessarily the students that are going to be elected into leadership.
So what were those groups again?
So that would be your Black Student Union, your QSA or the GSA, like Gay Straight Alliance, Queer, like those ones, making sure that those identity ones are in there as well, since again, like student leadership's great, but student leadership does not reflect the body always or to the full.
That's a very good note. We will include that. You know, it's, and I don't want to make excuses. We'll do as many groups as we can. We'll include those as time permits. May is tough, but, you know, it was, it would have been really incongruous is a nice word to go, oh, why are we doing all this when we're going through all the reductions and everything? So I wanted to wait till we paused, caught our breath, and do it. We'll do as many of those groups and more as possible between now and the end of school. The other really nice thing about this, too, is anytime we can have an excuse to get out and listen to our students, particularly, is a good thing. So this is a nice platform to do that. You know, one of the things, there's been so many trade-offs this year. You know, the good news is we've done Soup on the Move, and we're out there all the time listening. But I did not spend near as much time with student groups this year as I wanted to. So I'm all for that note, and I thank you for it.
If I could interject, and not to put Trustee Gersich on the spot, perhaps you might be able to help work with Dr. Geisels on some recommendations of student groups, and you know, you're a student rep, so you might have some additional insight to give them, you know, offline in regards to other groups for him to consider at the high school campuses. So
that would be
since
great.
Dr. Geisels has been swamped, I'm sure he can reach out with you, and obviously I'm sure he's going to interview you as well. So
definitely.
And then my last question would be, since we all hate the Globe from, I think, what, 5 years after I graduated? Well, I mean, we're here for the students, so potentially why not consider having the students design it?
I love it. And with all their AI work, with their posters and things like that? Absolutely.
I would just open it to all types of media, especially just so we're careful, but let's see what they do.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what we've seen with AI generation and stuff, and with reflecting our content and the like, it will be interesting to see what they come up with. Now, that doesn't, they can't do that possibly by the end of the school year, but anything we can do to keep it alive, right, to unpack it. You know, mostly people go, here's the superintendents love to do this. I have a strategic plan, and they post it on every classroom, and it doesn't live. So anything we can do to not let it collect dust on the shelf, but actively listen and learn from it and use it. So, for example, I've had experience in taking the beliefs and really using them as a part of a reflective writing activity and hiring process. Like, why are you a match for our organization given what our beliefs are? There's all kinds of things we could do to keep this thing alive. Was that 45 minutes, Lenita? All right? Okay, thank you very much.
Hold on, you can't go anywhere. As official agenda item, this is an opportunity for public comment from anyone in the audience that would love to come up and ask questions to Dr. Geisels on this process. You can't go anywhere. You got public comment. I know, anyway, I'm just teasing. You can go ahead and speak and then fill out a comment card afterwards. So just go ahead and speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Hello. Quick question. I love the sound of all of this. And I see that you've got PUSD, Parents and Community, line there. I would like to know, what is your plan for engaging the community to actually get them forward, to get their input and really drive it? Because let's face it, we know that you've done a lot in the past and people haven't exactly turned up to various events that you've done. So what are you going to do differently this time to really drive the conversation forward? Thank you.
All right, I'm sure he will follow up. Yes, next for public comment, come on up. You can go ahead and speak and fill out the comment card afterwards.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
So just to follow up on the previous public comment, engagement in this presentation was listed as a core principle for this refresh. Just want to make sure everyone's aware, many members of this community have already provided significant feedback on critical issues, LCAP funding, digital timesheets, the vineyard funding, the vineyard property sale. There's a lot, and even minutes for these meetings. There's been lots of critical issues that have been raised through public comment, through these forums, and there hasn't been a substantive response that have been provided to the community. The community needs to understand the functional difference between this, quote, listening tour and previous feedback cycles that have failed to influence the district's direction. Furthermore, there's been a lack of basic administrative transparency that makes it very difficult for the public to track how any of our current feedback from our community is being weighed or even utilized. So if beliefs are intended to drive the district's culture and decision making, how can the stakeholders trust this framework when basic transparency and input on urgent matters like special education funding that was discussed today are being disregarded? A culture that doesn't prioritize clear communication and responsiveness is, by definition, the current baseline. So regarding this listening tour timeline, what is the specific plan to advertise this process to all PSD parents and members to the community on May 21st? How will the district ensure that notices reach every household to ensure that there is a genuine opportunity to course correct rather than a formality to rebrand a decades-old strategy? We need confirmation that this new mission and vision statements will actually reflect the voices of the member of the communities that are most impacted by recent service reductions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're bringing it back to the board and to Dr. Geisels.
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement. You are the Board of Education. You are trustees. You are voted. This is a refresh. This is not starting over. This is not a blank piece of paper. Each and every one of you are an elected official, and you sit in your seat of responsibility because you are in touch with your community. This process starts with the board, it's in the middle with the board, and it ends with the board. You're the say in this, and I cannot think of a more reliable and valid source of information and what all of your stakeholders know and feel than what you know. And I think that's valid and reliable. So I would refute that we have to go out and ask everybody what they feel and what they do. That is over-processing. You know what your constituents want, how they think, how they feel. We can start with you and it will end with you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, if there's no other comments, we're going to, yes, Trustee Brown.
I'll just make a comment. I don't think it's unreasonable to leverage, one of the stated goals was low cost, don't bring in consultants, totally on board with that. It does need a refresh. I don't think it would hurt to leverage eConnect and give the parents notification that we're updating the mission, values, and beliefs. And if they wish to make a comment, they can fill out a form on the website, and then we can aggregate that and take that into account as another form of communication. I get your point, but I also get Mr. Choi's point, and I think there's a happy medium that could be done there.
I agree. I wasn't meaning whatsoever to preclude any best try we can with getting.
Yeah. No, I'm conscious of the fact that we have 13,500 students and many more than that parents and guardians, and not everyone is going to spend their Thursday night with us. We're fortunate we got 3 in the audience tonight and maybe 2 or 3 online, but for the board to be accessible, we need to open it up for broader than that. So, thank you.
Very well stated. Yes, Trustee Jones?
To be blunt, I mean, This is something that we should be excited about because our district has changed. Our populations have changed. The way that we run things have changed. This is our ability to not just turn a page within the district. If we want, this is our ability to do in a sense, it is a refresh, but it's also a restart with the changing demographics of our community to be like, who are we as a district now, but also as a city? What are our what have our values become? We just went through this whole painful process that we're still going through, actually, in regards to reductions, budgets, and everything else. So like, this is our moment to now take this moment and say, who do we want to be? Who do we hope to be? And who are we in this moment? And where do we want to go? And that's a fun and it's an exciting thing, because that will guide how we come out of the other processes that we are in right now. I love Pleasanton. I believe in our ability to do this. I know that we are not a perfect community and we are flawed. We all just had to fill out that form on whether or not we'd opt out our addresses for public safety by state law. That was a difficult choice for me. I don't talk about it here on the dais often, but I do sometimes get harassment and hate mail, not necessarily from this position, but because of who I am. My partner gets death threats consistently in his role because of who he is. But I opted out because I love this community. I believe in the potential and the fact that I think people are innately good and that we all want to do right and better. And so I'm excited for this. I think this is our ability to really show that and to make something better, especially, like I said, the ability to bring in our students in this so that it's not just the mission statement we all hate to put on our wall in our classrooms. So like, this is our ability to actually have it matter.
Thank you. Really well stated. So I think that was stated really, really well, and my fellow trustees have really echoed the sentiment that this is going to be a process that supports, I think, back to the listening talks that were conducted during the process for superintendent search. And I interpret it, my reflection is, part of just realigning some of that information to really help support, what we're putting. The mission and the vision of this organization is the first standard that's put on every handbook. It's publicized on our website, and I do appreciate something that I think Trustee Carey and I can attest is something we had mentioned in the past, like, when can we do this? We need to do this. And it is, to me, to my point, thinking back, it is a little bit of an embarrassment that it hasn't been modified and revised in the last 20 years. It's out of date. And that the information might have good value, but as you already stated, Trustee Jones, it's, our demographics has changed. Our community is ebbing and flowing, and it's a really important process. So with that, there's any other official action at this point. So just to clarify, we will get homework as of tomorrow and have to submit it, and then we'll have a follow-up meeting, special board meeting, which there will be some other agenda items potentially as well on May 7th, but we'll make sure to provide whatever amount of time needed for you, Dr. Geisels, and also to the feedback with Trustee Jones and with Trustee Gersich, other groups, and also from our public comment, people who've come up to speak. We'll make sure to identify additional ways to get feedback and input from all. We officially actually say educational partners now, not just stakeholders. Right. So with that stated, anything else to add before we move to the next agenda item?
No, thank you.
Okay, so last but not least, we are going to move to the last section. This will not take the entire allotted time, I promise you. This is the report and discussion for the governance workshop, which was previously agendized and pushed back. What I would actually like, Lanita, if you could move to the, I'm going to start actually not with the handbook, but to go to the POSD self-board evaluation. This is something we have talked about indirectly, casually throughout this last year or so in terms of really taking a look at an opportunity for the board to conduct their own self-evaluation process. Now, to help clarify for others who might be listening or sitting in the public, this is just an example of a self-evaluation tool that was actually been able to do some research from the state of New York, that it's like a rubric and a scoring guide for which board of directors, for trustees, can use to self-evaluate the function of the school board. So in this example, this is just an example of the tool we could use. I'm all about not recreating things, and the one thing I liked about this particular tool is it had core standards that are broad in general for school boards. So for example, standard 1 is the vision, leadership, and accountability, and it has professional practices. It has a four-based rubric scoring: highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. This is just an example of a potential tool we could consider. CSBA, the one for the state of California, has a potential tool, but we would have to purchase. And I don't think, as trustees, we're interested in that. Our bandwidth is pretty limited, and we have a lot of special board meetings. I'm not necessarily a fan of having to create something new. We do have a tool with Super Eval, which we have consulted with to provide a standard evaluation process for our superintendent. They do have an option for payment where we could use one of their tools, but from my understanding, they're basically adopting tools from different states, and they might even have this one. So this is one that I also shared with Trustee Vice President Walker, and also shared that with her. If you skim through the indicators, I think most of them work well. There's one that just refers something specific to the state of New York that we wouldn't use. The other thing about this particular tool, which is really nice, is that it's electronic and we could compile the data. So I'm asking you to take a look at this, and if you're open to it, what I'd like us to consider is perhaps us conducting a self-reflection process for us, yay or nay, by the end of the school year. Or we could say we want to push it into the fall and do it as a kickoff in August or September. But so I'm just throwing this out for you guys to take a look at this tool. And we don't have to make a final decision tonight. If you want to say, Kelly, let me take a look at it and review it. I know you have had time to review it, but if you want some time to think about it, we could come back to it. But so I'm going to pass it off to my fellow trustees for thoughts, questions. Yes.
I flipped through this one kind of quick, but in general, I think it's effective. It does what we need to do, and we don't have to pay for it, which I love. But also, I think it'd be good for us to do this, but I also think it might be good for our, I think it'd also be maybe good or cool for our cabinet to anonymously do it for us as well, so that we can hear from them how they feel we're doing.
Well, now we're getting, sir. Okay, sure. Definitely, we can discuss that and consider it. So, fellow trustees, thoughts or comments?
No, I agree. I like free is good.
I think we should treat the superintendent as part of the board and have him do it as well, as a board member. Well, you sit in on all our board meetings, right? Both closed session and open session. So I think your opinion matters as much as anyone else's. In terms of the evaluation,
I was just looking at it. I really like the fact that in the third column in the criteria it says developing.
Is that how you're going to rate us, developing?
Because you know, when you look at highly effective, effective, or ineffective, it's what direction you're going. And I can just get the cat out of the bag. I think the direction has been a lot of growth. And so I like that word developing, because it's not a it's better than it sounds, because it's not like you got a grade of a C. You're not in between effective or ineffective. It's not a neutral word. It's saying developing.
One of the things that's interesting about what we've gone to at work is we rate both on outcomes and in terms of the how people do something. So you could, as a board, as an example, you could achieve an outcome but do it in a very bad way or dysfunctional way. But anyway, bottom line is, as a template, I'm okay with this. To Charlie's point, we're all about saving money these days, and free is good. So if you can assure me this is free, then I have no problem using it. But I do think the superintendent and the cabinet opinions would be useful.
Okay, so we'll take that feedback and work offline with Dr. Geisels, myself, and Vice President Walker to talk about timing and all that. It might be very similar where we disseminate out for homework, come back, compile the information, and then we have another governance workshop. I think my only other question, and I'll go to you, Trustee Carrion, is timing. From one standpoint, I kind of feel really strongly. I feel like maybe we should do this by June, end of the school year, because there's been so much that we've been having to do, considering. But that would be just my other question or comment would be timing for this. I personally feel like it would be great to do by the end of the school year, but I'm not going to be stuck in the mud for it, but that would just be my comment. And yes, Trustee Caron, you had a question?
And my only question is, it says it's 2017. Is there any clue?
I mean, this was available online, and if we reference it, this is the school board tool for the state of New York. So that's why I think I even referenced it, that, for copyright reasons or whatnot like that. But, I mean, this is just something that we found in public domain. So
I think June would be fine. Also, my students would probably get a kick out of me getting a report card and not just them at the end of the semester. So, love that journey for them and I.
My recommendation to your point, Trustee Caron, would be, maybe we go through this process and see if we like it. If it's something that we find value to down the road, we could actually create our own, modify for PUSD specific, but with our limited resources and time. So, okay, so great. So then, Lenita, if you could move to the governance handbook. And this was modified in January with the school board elections, and so some general information was modified. If you can go to page 5 just to visualize what Dr. Geisels was referring to. Yes, this is the page that is going to be modified and revamped, refreshed, however words you want to phrase for that. So that would just be a comment that this is a living document, as we often say in education. So the governance handbook this year will actually be modified more compared to previous years. So if you scroll through the rest of the handbook, what I wanted to do is go to the page 8. So, Dr. Geisels, I just wanted to point this out to you. This is the current PUSD, the education core beliefs. This is specific information that actually mirrors page 5, just FYI. But so this will be something that will also have to be modified along in contingency with page 5, I mean. So that's something that will also correlate, obviously, as we tweak the mission and vision, and then in terms of some of the other information that you were sharing. My point is that the governance handbook is going to work hand in hand with the work that we're doing with Dr. Geisels. So with that, my other comment for the governance handbook. This is probably more of an ask to take a look, and then maybe perhaps we can revisit back on May 7th as well. I would like you to take a look at any other section in the governance handbook that you feel there might be a bullet that you want to add, because there's very comprehensive information throughout the handbook. This would be a great opportunity to take a look and to see if there's a certain section that you want to tweak. If you go further down, Lanita, if you could go through, like, for example, further down in the handbook, it talks about the governance roles and responsibilities. But if you go further down, keep going, where it talks about the structure, like the norms. It's one section I want you to definitely, stop right here. This next section really breaks it out in terms of issues and protocols, for example, for email communication, handling concerns from the public. This has been like a stand-in process that has been established in the governance handbook for quite some time. I do think it's mostly up to date, but if there's something specific that you feel really strongly that you want to edit or modify, we can talk about it now, but I would prefer that you review it and then we can come back. And I'm just thinking we could perhaps have you send the recommendations so we can compile the information and then go from there. But if there's something that stands out right now that you want to discuss right now, we do have some time for it. But typically what we've done every year is when you go through the governance handbook, we just kind of go through a couple items. But this year we're going to kind of overhaul it in a different perspective. So with that, I'm going to give it back to the floor for you guys on any questions or comments on the components or any of the elements of the governance handbook.
I would say the only thing maybe that catches my eye right now is probably on page 22, the student board representatives deciding if we still want it to be chosen by the principal or if we want that to be elected by the student body, like at the high school level, or...
I thought it was elected.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by, like, we're going to need to correct that page.
I'm thinking that was when we had the speakers, when they had like the middle school and the high school speakers.
This is when we had the student school representatives that would come. So this page actually we don't need anymore. We just have the board trustee, which is different than the student reps.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, yes. So basically, homework will be, please just take a look if there's anything specific that you would like to modify in terms of the language and information. I would like to ask that you guys take special attention to the norms, because we've done a lot of conversations with this current board on the norming process. If you might recall, we did an activity last year with former President Brown when we were going through the initial budget process, and we were talking about the norms, because that's when Trustee Jones had just come on. And so I would echo and star asterisk the norms page. And also, if there's anything, when you take a look at the self-evaluation tool for the school board process, there might be something that you review in that tool that we might want to embed into the handbook. So, for example, I'm thinking right now off the hand, directly we need to include a section to say an expectation for the board to do a self-reflection every year. Like, for example, last time, Trustee Karen, I think it was just you and I, when we did the board reflection with the consultant, Nicole Anderson. So that's been at least 3 years. So that's another edit that we'll need to add into the governance handbook if we end up finding that the self-evaluation process is effective. So, any other questions or comments or reflections? Yeah. Okay. So, but I love the fact that we're kind of piggybacking it off on the refresh process with Dr. Geisels, and that was, of course, intended. We wanted to really make alignment with that. So, without further ado, I'm going to open this for public comment. Come on up. We'd love to have you speak. You have, well, we can, 3 minutes. You can take all 3 minutes.
I just want to say the self-reflection, I think, is a truly, truly excellent plan. I think that's something that you should absolutely put out to people as well once you have done it, because a lot of people want to feel like they know you guys better. They want to know where you guys feel you have strengths, where you feel you have weaknesses, and they want to see you as people working for them. And I think if I've spoken with Dr. Geisels a lot about how to build trust between the board and the community, and I think opening yourself up in this way would be a wonderful first step in that, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, any other concluding comments? Okay, great. Awesome. We're going to go to board reports and announcements and requests. So whoever wants to start. Trustee Jones?
So I went to the Livermore Chamber Rodeo Mixer, which was a lot of fun. I got to practice my lassoing skills, which is always fun and entertaining, and not something I get to do often. And then the one that was really big while we were gone is I took students to Dublin, Ireland, Belfast in Northern Ireland, and then I got to take students to Scotland to see Glasgow and Edinburgh. And they had an amazing time. They really want to go to school there now. I do not blame them. But it's such a great experience taking students to places that we don't normally get to see or go. And so it was, like I said, it's a lot of fun being able to do trips like that with the students and seeing the reactions to it.
Okay, great. Trustee Brown?
I won't belabor. The music trip was fascinating, and it was fun pitching in. I did go to the track meet yesterday at PMS. Got to see my daughter run on the track, and it was hard. Basically, all 3 middle schools. They ran out of time, so they weren't able to complete all the events because they cut it off at 5:30. But it was wonderful to see the track being used. I do think we need to prioritize adding bleachers or something at some point, because you had parents standing at the edge of the track, and it was fine when they were doing relays where they only had like 3 or 4 teams running in a lane, but when you got to lane 6 and you were doing individual races, a couple of the kids in lane 6 had to swerve around parents who were like almost stepping onto the track in order to watch the race. And I felt bad for those that were in lane 6. And so I'm not suggesting we put up a barrier and all this kind of stuff, because we want our fields to be accessible and friendly to families and so on. But my wife was fortunate that she remembered to bring a chair, so I was able to sit down on the bark mulch there. But I heard a number of the parents lamenting the fact that it would be really nice to have bleachers. It was super nice that we had restrooms there, I might add. But anyway, it was nice to see that track being used, and all the effort and excitement of the kids out there racing. There was a battle of bands. I missed that, unfortunately, but I did see some of the videos, and it was kind of cool to see them rocking out to some songs, as you mentioned. And yeah, that's about it.
Great, thank you.
I went with Trustee Walker to the equity, and you guys did a great job. You really did. I learned some stuff. So I just have 2 requests. One is, I know that our budget is based on projections. I'd like to see like monthly actuals. I guess the board can talk about that, because I think then we can make decisions based on money we actually have. And I think more transparency for the public, so I'd like to maybe discuss that later. And then in terms of rescinding notices, I would like the public to know, like, due to CSEA negotiations, we're able to bring back these positions. So I don't know how we can go about letting people know what we're rescinding, but just more transparency. Think about it anyway.
Okay, great. Trustee Walker?
Yes, I attended the the kickoff of the ad hoc committee on equity and inclusion, and I really appreciate all the hard work, and it's great to do the deep data dive, and you know, we did exercising on building belonging in the classroom. I've learned so much. I appreciate it, and I think our group appreciates it, and I'm looking forward to our final 2 meetings. So thank you very much, Mr. Dialazzo. I've learned so much, and I'm just so happy that I can be part of this committee. I'm sorry Trustee Jones couldn't stay on the committee, but it worked out for me, so thank you.
Just to be clear on why I'm not able to, I've had some family issues that have arisen that have made it so that I'm unable to.
So with that, I'd like to formally congratulate Trustee Jones for being a delegate assembly to replace my spot. Then that's why you're too busy to be on the ad hoc committee. So congratulations. We're really happy for you. During spring break, for spring break for Pleasanton, I actually took the time off and spent time with my kids, and took my daughter up to go to Sacramento and spoke on behalf of the Assembly Education Senate, the Assembly Committee Education, and to help support the 4 bills that the California School Board Association was supporting for the achievement gap. There were 4 bills that were passed, and it will go on to the next House, and then we'll have to write additional letters. Pleasanton was recognized as one of the districts to support, and I was really proud to be there to speak. It was very formal. They could either support or go for the bill or against, and that was about all they would allow you to do to speak. We're not leaving yet. I'm still talking. Yes. So that was great to bring my daughter along, who's in 8th grade, and so she could see a little bit of political life and to better understand how policies actually come to play. So that was great. And then just a reminder that we do have the PPIE kickoff race on Sunday. We're hoping everyone's going to go, and we'll have to do a picture down on Main Street, figure that out, and get that finagled, because that's a tradition. So confirming all trustees can go before Trustee Brown goes to work.
No, I'm going to be marshaling the race course instead. So come find me on the race course, and we'll take a picture there.
We'll do a photo there. Okay. So I was looking back on some of the passings of certain regulations and statutes. AB 1390 is a request I would like to bring and put onto the agenda. This is for the statute for compensation for trustees that had not been updated since, I believe it was 1984. So this is something that is overdue. And I would like to request to have that put on an upcoming agenda.
That's scheduled to go on the June 3rd policy.
We have to modify the policy?
You have to modify the policy.
Then I'm
first.
requesting to modify, to add that to the March agenda. April. I'm sorry. We have a policy meeting next week. Can we please add that to?
Add that one to.
Yes, please. I'm sorry. I know you showed.
That up. It's okay. I can move that.
I apologize. You did show us the June agenda, but I think I was looking more closely at the April agenda.
Okay.
So I'm going to request that we modify and add that to the policy committee agenda item, so then that can move forward. Okay, that's all my requests. So we're going to officially adjourn this meeting at 9:53. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.